hopelessness, that kind of helplessness is not acceptable.
Just hours before the National Security Council sat Monday, one man was shot dead by armed bandits in Mikinduru village in Olmaran.
Hapa angeleta kifaro 10, hii kazi ingekuwa imeisha. Angeleta ndege ifanye kama Mount Elgon. Kwani Mount Elgon ifanywe operation na hapa wanaogopa kufanywa operation. Na kama kuna watu wako na godfather yawa, basi watuambie sisi wengine hatuna godfather bali tutaenda.
We are 1 year to an election and now we are again into conflicts.
The government says it will flush out all illegal occupants and rid the region of bandits.
From the reports, the attacks seem to be well planned, well executed, and to some extent the security organs in the area have fallen casualty of these attacks, with several of their camps being raided even during the day.
And that is why I'm wondering at the importance of our security agencies. As we are speaking with you now, the cows are grazing on the maize. You know, these are people's property. They invested in plowing the land, in planting the maize, and they are almost ready to be harvested. But as we talk now, hundreds of cattle are grazing on those maize. And nothing is happening.
Now, still focusing on matters of politics, the Jubilee Party has launched a scathing attack on its deputy party leader, William Ruto, accusing him of political blackmail. Jubilee Party Secretary General Raphael Tuju says Ruto has continued to entertain his allies as they drag and disrespect the person of the founding president of the nation and his family in their quest to settle political scores. At Safin Omar reports, Tuju has dared the deputy president to explain how his wealth grew from 100 million shillings in 2015 to billions in 2021.
The simmering divisions within the Jubilee Party seems to have boiled over as the accusations and counter-accusations continue. The gloves are finally off as the rifts between two factions within the Jubilee Party widened twofold on Monday. In a thinly veiled onslaught on the deputy party leader, Jubilee, through Secretary General Raphael Tuju, has accused Ruto of holding the party at ransom.
The deputy president, William Ruto, possessed some quote-unquote political blackmail stock options that he used to his great personal advantage. Unfortunately, for the so-called UDA, political blackmail stock options have a battery life and have a shelf life.
The decent thing would be, a person who believes in decency would have been to take the earliest opportunity and to say, now that I have moved to my party, UDA, I hereby tender my resignation as a member of Jubilee and as deputy president.
Tuju accused the deputy president of standing by as his political allies continue to disrespect the president and the First Family.
We believe that our president has been very tolerant and has accommodated his past behavior and demands as a statesman whose mission is to make Kenya viable by uniting our country.
Last week, the deputy president mocked what he termed as an attempt by some senior government officials to conduct his lifestyle audit in the full glare of the public.
Walisahau pia kuweka shares. Niko na shares 400,000 ya Safaricom. Wangeweka hiyo. Wamejaribu kufanya hiyo lifestyle audit ya William Ruto. So sasa wangeendelea sasa na hiyo lifestyle audit, tuende kwa mwingine namna hiyo.
Tuju challenged the DP to share his expertise on how to acquire quick wealth.
May it please His Excellency to show these our young people all the skills on how to acquire such property in such a short time. We may not possess the supernatural powers of hard work that he has, but at least he should teach us something else apart from the wheelbarrows. Show us another way to perform such miracles.
Despite the ongoing rifts, the Jubilee Party maintains that its focus as a party is to unite Kenyans, deliver on its mandate, and prepare for the 2022 general elections.
is happening, the Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga claims the Court of Appeal judges were compromised to rule against the BBI bill. In a meeting with a section of border riders operating in Nairobi, Raila claimed the proponents of the Building Bridges initiative have accepted the ruling, though he claims it lacked objectivity.
ODM leader Raila Odinga has accused the judiciary of being compromised in the recent BBI ruling that upheld the decision by the High Court that declared BBI null and void. Odinga, who spoke in a meeting that sought to consolidate his support among the border riders, claimed that although they were content with the ruling, the decision by the 7-judge bench was neither objective, fair nor transparent.
Hiyo BBI walipiga, wale ambao walipiga walihongwa, lakini tumeweka kando kidogo, hiyo rege imeenda likizo off time, lakini itarudi.
Leaders who attended the meeting calling for peace, claiming that the ODM party was not to watch as different political factions instigated chaos across the country.
Uhuru Kenyatta amesema kwamba tafadhali tupe break. Umeiba kwa miaka 5 tumekuwa serikalini. Yes, nilivumilia. Lakini wewe umetoka umeamua kwamba lazima uchafue inchi ndiposo uchukue uongozi.
During the meeting, a raft of measures, among them the creation of database on matters border, building of lanes to reduce border accidents, and addressing constant harassment by county enforcement officers were proposed.
Muache kusumbuliwa na hawa polisi na hawa watu wa kanjo, na mimi nawahakikishia next year, mwaka ujao, hii shida yote itakuwa imeisha, kwa sababu nyinyi wenyewe mmesema the right person will be in power.
Now, a section of Jubilee legislators on Monday held a meeting with former Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kionjuri and NARC party leader Martha Karua to seek a common position for the region. Speaking after the meeting, Kieni Member of Parliament Kanini Kega said leaders from the region are trying to build a consensus and explore possibilities of the region speaking in one voice.
The meeting brought together Kionjuri, NARC Kenya's Martha Karua and Kieni MP Kanini Kega, as well as Murang'a MP Sabina Chege, among other elected leaders, to find a common position. The meeting coming a day after the Deputy President concluded a Central Kenya Consultative Forum with MPs allied to him in Kionjuri's backyard of Nanyuki. The leaders, however, insist the team meeting Monday had nothing to do with the 2022 succession, but the interests of the region.
We are committed to unity of purpose. We are committed to multipartyism. Nobody is being told to leave their party, unless, of course, if they wish. We remain in our parties, but we have unity of purpose for Mount Kenya region. That's the purpose of today's meeting.
The escalation of a meeting will be next week as Kionjuri and Karua seek to enlist all elected members of the region for a common position.
We want our leaders to be present in the next meeting as we deliberate on the issues that are going to be our wish list to any candidate who is seeking the presidency of this country.
Meanwhile, Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria is accusing police of harassing and intimidating him after his presidential campaign caravan was blocked by police in Nyandarua. Wairia insists that the Mount Kenya region must have a presidential candidate in 2022.
It means that we are being profiled, we are being caged, we are being boxed, and our voice is not supposed to be heard. I want to tell those people that they are lying to themselves.
To the corridors of justice, where former nominated Senator Paul Njoroge filed a petition at the High Court challenging the 9th August 2022 general election date set by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. In the affidavit, Njoroge claims IEBC was not fully constituted and did not have a substantive chief executive officer when it set the election date, and the term of the president and his deputy will not have lapsed by then.
In the petition filed at the High Court, Njoroge claims IEBC set the 9th of August 2022 election date, yet it was not properly constituted as it did not have the requisite quorum of its commissioners nor a substantive CEO. The former senator is also challenging the tendering process undertaken by the electoral body, saying at the time of initiating the process, the commission was not fully constituted as required by law. Njoroge claims on the 26th of October 2017, a repeat president election was held and the head of state and his deputy will not have served their full 5-year term by August the 9th, 2022. Njoroge now wants the court to stop the decision made by the IEBC pending hearing and determination of the application. Meanwhile, Godfrey Otieno Ouma has been charged with the intention to defraud a company within Nairobi of surgical gloves valued at over 800,000 shillings. Ouma was granted a bond of 500,000 Kenyan shillings and a surety of similar amount or a cash bail of 300,000 Kenyan shillings. Elsewhere, Eunice Lewa has been charged at a Kiambu court with 4 counts of obtaining money by false pretense, forging documents and stealing. The suspect, a resident of Kahawa Sukari, was arrested in Gatundu, where when she attempted to sell a Toyota Wish of registration number KCF 263A, previously hired from Kitale.
Now, a 65-year-old woman is being held at the Kabati police station in Murang'a for allegedly killing her 99-year-old husband in cold blood. The heinous act that happened in Kagumoine village in Yeshanjuru ward is said to have ensued after a disagreement over food.
The family says Margaret Wanjiru and her husband have been engaged in marital tiffs for some time now.
After father kumwambia atulia, asubuhi ni asubuhi sana kupiga kelele na kutusiana, ndio akatulia. Yes, alitulia, lakini sasa venye alirudi kwa kitchen, mimi nilikuwa na prepare breakfast. Akaacha kurudi kitchen, ndio akachukua panga, akaanza kumkatakata kichwa.
The family says Margaret Wanjiru and her husband have been engaged in marital tiffs for some time now. Betty Mumbi alleges that their mother has also allegedly killed 5 of her children through strangulation. Sarafina Nyambura says their mother's decision to stop them from feeding their aged father has been a major source of dispute in the family.
Mama yangu ni mtu mbaya kwa sababu wakati mmoja alimnyima chakula na akamgoga hapa kwa head.
Meanwhile, an 8-year-old man from Mayungu area of Lurambi in Kakamega has been caught trying to commit suicide after he allegedly defiled his 15-year-old granddaughter. Julius Juma is said to have abused the minor and impregnated her.
Nikaenda nikauliza ndugu yangu mara 3. Kiwa wewe ndio ulipeana mchukuu mimba, ukubali. Akakataa. Akasema siwezi. Baada ya hiyo maneno, kitu yenye litendeka, nikapata yeye amefanya nini? Amekunywa dawa.
Elsewhere, over 30 business people are counting losses after their shops were gutted down by fire in Kamungu and Kiamba shopping center in Muguga ward, Kiambu County. Residents say the fire started in one of the electronic shops at around 11 p.m. on Sunday.
Hiyo moto ilianza kitu kaa saa 5 ikiwa imebakia dakika 5 na tukajaribu kuzima hiyo moto lakini hatukuweza. Lakini gari ya county ikaitwa, ikajaribu, ikakuja na moto ikazimika, lakini hizi manyumba zote ama hii mashop yote hakuna kitu tuliokota.
Finally, angry villagers in Karinga Kamayo location in Lari have lynched a man after he allegedly raped and killed his 14-year-old daughter.
Kasikia hiyo kitendo ilitendeka ati huyo mtoto haonekani. Tulikuja tukatafuta kuangalia na zaidi tuliangalia na kukaexpect ati baba yake ndio alifanya hiyo kitendo. Alijaribu kutoroka na akafuatwa ni raia na kakamatio pale Muweko, mahali ya Muweko na akachomwa.
The locals say they discovered the body of the teenager in a deserted pit latrine before pouncing on the suspect.
Well, there is that. Indeed, life has become priceless, or rather a price that people are willing to pay. 65-year-old woman there allegedly murdered her 99-year-old husband over food. We cross to business, where property tax can be a major source of government revenue if both the national and county governments can work in tandem in implementing the levy. Now, speaking at the 6th African Tax Research Network Conference, Kenya Revenue Commission General that is Githi Mburu said digitization of property tax processes is a first step towards realizing the underlying tax revenue potential.
Property taxes have a tremendous potential to constitute a key revenue stream for Kenya if properly harnessed. It is estimated that the contribution of property taxes to the gross domestic product in developing countries in Africa is at an average of 0.38%, while in developed countries it averages 2.2%. Speaking at the 6th African Tax Research Network Conference under the theme Maximizing the Revenue Potential of Property Taxes Through Digitization, Kenya Revenue Authority Commissioner General Githi Mburu said property taxes contribution to government coffers is still minimal, adding that its full potential is yet to be realized. He says digitization of capital gain tax and rental income tax in Kenya has improved service delivery and widened the tax base. Mburu further noted that partnership between revenue administrators and other government agencies which primarily deal with such properties at both the county and national level and provision of requisite utilities required by property owners is key. They cited weak collection system, infrastructure, administrative and technical capacity, and weak links between taxes and service delivery as some of the challenges facing developing countries in administration of property tax.
Financial institutions have been urged to increase funding to the agriculture sector to boost Kenya's food security. Agriculture Principal Secretary Professor Hamadi Boga has said lack of proper funding is derailing Kenya's dream of improving food security and nutrition. Official data indicates that financial institutions advanced only 3.3% of total gross loans to the agriculture sector in the year 2020.
Africa spends an estimated 8.4 trillion shillings to import food, despite having some of the biggest arable lands in the world. The situation is likely to worsen due to supply chain disruptions that has left more than 160 million people in need of food aid. Despite its economic potential, the sector remains underfunded, with most countries in Africa spending less than 5% of the national annual budgets on agriculture. Kenya spends about 2.3% of its annual budget on agricultural programs. Agricultural experts now say there is need for a collaboration between the public and the private sectors to ensure policies that attract more investment in the sector are crafted. Lending institutions have been encouraged to increase funding by providing seed capital for innovations in the agriculture value chain, to modernize agriculture and make it more attractive to the youth. Speaking during the 11th annual summit of the African Green Revolution Forum, agriculture stakeholders have said financial inclusion is important to ensure more women acquire land. Investors have been urged to target financing rural agriculture as a long-term strategy to strengthen the agriculture value chain. Experts have further said proper soil analysis will help boost food production by helping farmers access critical data on their soil nutrition composition.
Livelihood is inextricably linked with soil health.
We need to improve the microbial populations in the soils. We need the soils to be able to break down the nutrients so that the root systems can grow well and the plant can be strong and healthy.
Now, Gentrix Shikangwa scored late on the Vihiga Queens, booked a slot for the final Sekafa regional qualifiers for the inaugural edition of the CAF Women's Championship League, following a 2-1 win over Tanzania's Simba Queens.
After a barren draw in the first half, Morena Cheng gave host Vihiga Queens the lead in the 63rd minute.
This is here, and that beautiful header there by Morena Cheng in the 65th minute put Vihiga Queens ahead. And of course, a very, very delighted bench.
Only for substitute Aisha Mnuka to level the score 7 minutes later.
And a big punt by Bobo. Picks out Flaving Mawete. And an easy tap in there by Aisha Mnuka, who had just come in, and a fast touch on the ball from a solid pass by Flavit Mawete Musolo.
However, Vihiga kept the fight and scored the winner with 2 minutes remaining when Harambee Starlets forward Shikangwa dumped home a header, rising highest inside the box to nod home a free kick from Alice Muderi.
And Alice Muderi with a beautiful cross.
Achieng has now scored 7 goals in the competition, followed by Shikangwa, who has netted 6 times. The teams are battling for a chance to represent the region at the CAF Champions League that will be played in Egypt later this year.
The Kenyan national football team, Harambee Stars, jetted back from Kigali, Rwanda yesterday ahead of their upcoming World Cup qualifiers against Mali. Stars drew 0-0 against Uganda on Thursday before being held to a 1-1 draw against Rwanda's team at the Kigali Stadium on Sunday.
Harambee Stars' World Cup qualification start hasn't been memorable so far, with Jacob Mulay coach side registering 2 draws in their first Group E matches. Stars played out to a barren draw against Uganda Cranes last week in Nairobi, before being held to a 1-1 draw against Rwanda in Kigali yesterday. Stars currently sit second in Group E standings with 2 points, behind Mali. The match ended in a 1-1 scoreline by full time.
With 2 games, 2 points, it's not so bad. I mean, we would have liked to have 4 points, but we did our best today, so we will still plan on how to face Mali because it's back-to-back. We go to Morocco, then they come back to Nairobi. And I think in Nairobi is another story altogether, but let us deal with the Mali game in Morocco first.
Stars will now focus on October's qualifiers, a 2-legged fixture against Mali, before return matches against Uganda and Rwanda.
With that from the sporting arena brings us to our first break this morning. Remember, we are not done here. We have so much in line for you in regard to stories that are making headlines as well as topical issues of discussion. We take a breather. We'll be right back.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo.
If Flavia loves you, you have my blessings.
Thank you, Daddy.
Eloisa, I want to be with you until the very last moment of my life.
This year, the winner by a clear margin is this young man, Lucio Montesinos.
Bravo! I won! I will love you. Always.
Always.
It took a very short time wewe kumaribu familia yake. So jambo la kununua nyumba, it's not a big deal for him.
I'm not up for your stupid silly games, Wakili. Kwani ni mtoto wangu? Hata akaenda nyumba za wazee, mimi sijali, ama wewe wajali? Ameenda kwa boyfriend yake. Huu wazimu wa nyumba umemchokesha.
Hawa watu ukiwapatia nafasi watakupanda kichwani na mambo yako yote yataharibika. Ndio maana inabidi unawafuga kama mbuzi.
Is dangerous.
He is my father's enemy.
Over my dead body.
right, time for that quick look on how our roads are looking like in terms of traffic. And just as I mentioned today, this morning we shall be focusing on simply what is happening along Ngong Road. We know that, of course, there's still some ongoing roadworks on that specific route, and that is on the third phase. Kura had mentioned that that was supposed to be complete by May of this year. That hasn't quite happened. They had also talked about the 3 footbridges to be installed at various places. Also, that hasn't happened yet. So this morning we just try to check how all these projects are impacting the traffic flow altogether, and try to see how at least phase 1 and 2 is looking like, because in terms of construction, that one is already complete. That is phase 1 and phase 2, beginning all the way from the Kenya National Library up until Prestige Plaza. That is where phase 1 begins and ends. Then Prestige Plaza all the way to Dagoretti. That is now phase 2. So this is how the traffic looks like this morning, and perhaps you can begin from the Junction Mall as you head over to the city center. Not so bad. This area forms part of phase 2, so clearly it looks like that is that construction process that was being undertaken, just reducing the traffic flow along this route, is really serving its purpose very well, because right now not so bad. And specific on that lane that is coming to the city center, oftentimes around this time of the morning, that time you'd really expect to see heavy kind of traffic, given the fact that Ngong Road is also one of those busy roads. But that is not the case this morning, moving at a very swift pace, a clear indicator of if you are coming from these areas, then again, this is just the best time for you to leave your houses. If at all you're coming to the city center, around the same area, which is also around the Adams Arcade roundabout there, again, not so bad. One of those busy areas as well. But this morning, moving at a very swift pace around that particular section there as you head over to the city center. And the beauty is that that is actually on both lanes. So as you leave all the way from Ngong area, Karen, Dagoretti, coming to the city center, and also as you leave CBD, going through that entire section, still again moving at a very swift pace, green all through, a clear indicator of no traffic at all. I mean, despite the fact that there's still some ongoing roadworks there, this is how the road is looking like. So not so bad at all when it comes to the traffic flow. Also, as you get to branch off through that section that heads over to Kibera, again, not bad, moving at a very swift pace, clearly shown by that green color. Traffic just begins to slightly build up as you leave the Adams Arcade roundabout as you head over to the city center, but still altogether manageable kind of traffic. And this is actually how the area looks like. So yeah, just beginning to slightly build up, but altogether still a manageable kind of traffic on that entire section. On the other lane, however, as you come to the estates there, still traffic building up, which is I mean, it's unlikely, because in this early morning hour, mostly on lanes that are heading over to the estates, we wouldn't expect to see traffic because there's barely any kind of activities there. But on this specific one, just a bit of a traffic. But again, like I mentioned, altogether still a manageable kind of traffic. Again, just simply means that we do not need to look at any alternative routes, at least as of now. And this is how it's looking like in terms of traffic this morning on some of those sections there along Ngong Road. But again, like I mentioned, still Ngong Road will remain a key road and area of focus, simply because we still have that phase 3 still undergoing in terms of construction. We have those 3 footbridges that have been designated at various areas, and we have the bus rapid transit system. Quite a lot of projects along that specific route, and this is why it will remain a key route and a key road of focus until all these projects are complete. Try to see how it will altogether impact traffic.
All right, we now get started with In the Headlines. The hashtag still remains to be Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1 is the official station handle. And do remember to tag us individually. Our individual handles are at Victor Olo, at Raymond Nyara, at Dorina Ranke, and at Jane Wumboy. We start with the Daily Nation, quite busy this morning, starting with the 2 stories here on the header. Number 1, the face of joblessness. And this is in regards to the number of youth who are graduating in the thousands, but still do not have formal sources of employment or income for that matter. And here they focus on a story of a number of boys who one graduated with a bachelor's degree, and there are 4 others who have diplomas in economics, and they are now smashing stones at a quarry. They are stone crushers just to be able to earn a living, and that is their main source of income. And this is in Bomet, and this is just one in a million other cases of unemployment that we get to hear of on a daily. Now, the second story is in regards to police and barriers on the roads, as it has now been reinstated again that there will no longer be barriers on the road, and this is a ban that came through. Let me just give you some quick details about this particular story. So the National Police Service has again banned roadblocks and static police checks across the road following numerous complaints on traffic officers collecting bribes from motorists. And this particular ban has been catalyzed also with the incident that happened a couple of 3 weeks back, where there was some 4 police officers who sent themselves money from one civilian who was caught past curfew hours, just looking at the whole issue of bribe where police officers are involved. And in that particular case, they actually sent themselves 1,030 sauna ya kutoa. So that particular incident actually catalyzed this whole situation. And this is not the first time we are hearing of these barriers and police checks being banned on the roads. But there have been many complaints that have been made against traffic police officers, which are going to be investigated and taken, stand action taken, all in an effort to enforce discipline among traffic police officers. Now, moving forward, there are some resolutions that made at traffic management meeting that was attended by the IG himself. And in this particular circular from the IG, police leadership has previously banned roadblocks, and now it is going to be reinforced again on highways, with the exception of mobile patrols and security operations, following similar complaints. But that is the state of that particular story. Away with roadblocks as police boss reinstates the ban on barriers. And I can't wait to hear Victor and Ray's interaction with some of these police barriers, but we'll be getting to that once we get to the details part of this segment. Ama jitumeko kwa split. Quick fast. Vic, experience yako with some of these random police checks?
Absolutely. Okay, on the flip side, it's a good thing. More so, police officers used to have their, the police roadblocks for all the obvious reasons. Perhaps to stop the contraband, to check on the overloading of vehicles, and so etc. etc. But then now you realize that some of the police officers, for all the bad reasons, were doing it for all the bad reasons again. In certain countries, roadblocks do not exist. There exist the patrols, where at a particular point, after some kilometers, you'll find a police patrol van just patrolling the highway. And for example, between Nairobi and Nakuru, you'd find several patrol vehicles there. And you look at it this way: which is more effective, having a roadblock somewhere or having police patrol vehicles patrolling the highway? Which is more effective? So something happens in, for example, in Kinungi. All right, and already you've passed a roadblock somewhere between Kikuyu, Limuru and Kinungi. What happens? For you to get that police officer to go and respond to such a case is a trouble. So, well, ask me, I think having a highway patrol vehicles will be more effective in terms of response and just keeping check on the security matters on the road. And for the bribes purposes, that will reduce.
Absolutely.
I have a thing, and I think the case of police officers being accused of being either number 1, number 2 in terms of bribery during data collection and reports, somehow that will reduce, and we are likely to see how it will pan out. Regina.
Why are you like Regina?
The way you look at
say something over here.
The other time.
Well,
ukiona police checks unaanza kutafuta nini mbaya?
Yeah, what's
sina
wrong?
makosa. Kama una makosa,
afande ni
unaenda umeenda.
Yeah, and
kusalimia tu.
If I can come.
Kusalimia ni story.
Anakusalimia tu, but no.
Victor
no. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up seeing, all that, like askari by the time they're getting to you. CID.
CDL.
Umetoka wapi? Mbona umevaa hivo? Mbona unakaa hivo? Jesus. To a point where I grew up, I think it's the enculturation. And I know a majority of us Kenyans, we are always very apprehensive when a police officer approach you. And I gave an example here. When it rains,
it pours.
And no. When it literally rains in traffic, and this police traffic officer is on a roundabout or manning a certain road, you'll rarely see a motorist pulling over and handing them an umbrella. You might not know that you might actually be giving them an umbrella. Then, my friend, ikwapi DL, you know, ama insurance yako, ama miguu yako imeisha, ama, you know. Unfortunately, that is where we are as a majority of Kenyans, and I think that needs to change. When it comes to bribe, I'm sure anyone who's been using our Kenyan roads has seen the tactic, and there's been documentaries and features that have been made out. Watu wanarusha chini, watu wa matatu wanarusha chini akipita, someone collects it with a button. I mean, ama akitishwa DL anaeka something pale ndani, ukisalimia afisa lazima uwezi msalimia hivi, unamsalimia hivi, you know, because you have something in hand. This is something that has been going on, and I know my producer ananiambia niko na experience. Well,
unaongea from experience.
The way anapeana hiyo story,
I mean, hizo tactics unazijua.
Anapeana hiyo story. Aiwacheni kuniweka kwa carpet, nasema hivi. What I'm saying is reality on ground. We need to be very realistic. Either it has happened to us, someone we know, we have seen or heard. It doesn't matter. That is what is happening on ground. So when it comes to the reports that come in that the police force is most corrupt, I actually agree. To some extent, I agree. And I know, askari ni binadamu, and there are those who are selfless, and they're there to serve. But there's few, the pockets are making it worse for everybody. Personally, a cop stands me, or rather just ask me to pull over, I start thinking, do I have my DL? Is my insurance okay? Are my wheels okay? Is my light okay? I start thinking about everything. And they may be lost or seeking help, but my head has already gone to defense mode.
Okay.
Actually, there was an incident where I told a traffic cop niko na COVID.
And
you see, experience.
You know, I had to come up with something.
You're a Kenyan.
We actually also have that story.
True to it.
We also have that story by the on the People's Daily. And just following that meeting that was held by the IG Hilary Mutyambai and the deputy IG as well of police, that is Edward Mbugwa, they now came to a conclusion that as from I think should be like as from just when they had that meeting, that all county police commanders will now be directly responsible for close supervision of traffic management in their jurisdictions, and also in ensuring that no motor vehicles are detained along the roads for long hours. You can also just remember that these roadblocks had been put in place to try and see how best they can enforce the COVID protocols, but sasa walichukua kama advantage.
Mnapangwa hapo msururu.
And also, the traffic that usually comes with that.
Yes, because actually there was such a roadblock when government made a pact with the Matatu Association of Kenya that you know, yes, you can carry to full capacity, but it has to be under the laid down health protocols in as far as COVID is concerned. Just on Langata Road in the morning at around 5:30,
yes,
vehicles are being pulled over to the side, and they are not letting the personal vehicles drive past. So the tailback of traffic goes on and on. I mean, there is what has been put on paper, but the execution is an issue altogether. And Miss O'Doreen, one of our viewers says, good to have you back. Yesterday you were missing in action. And also comments and says that Jane was also missing in action. So mwambie my fans what was keeping you, you know, where you were. Then we remembered it was Monday, but hey, that was just on a lighter note. I've just had to read that
nilikuwa na ngoja akose kunitaja. Nilikuwa na ngoja akose kuniulizia. Ningeleta vita mbaya. Ningeona dust ya yellow. I woke up today and chose violence.
Yeah, just breathe.
But nonetheless, that is basically the front page of the Daily Nation. More of these stories, I'm sure they've been captured in all the other dailies. Vic.
All right. But then, Jen, just on that story, I think if the police officers and the police bosses are planning something good for this country, then, well, I don't know the extent of the conversation in regards to this one, but it will call for proper equipment in terms of vehicles. Look at the police vehicles that we have currently.
There's some really nice ones.
There's some nice ones, yes, but then it will call for proper vehicles to be given to all the police stations across the country. Not one, not two, not three.
The mobile patrol
units should be there. All right, so on the front page of the Star newspaper, Kenyatta troops to Ruto. How did you make billions? Kenyatta troops to Ruto, how did you make billions? Murkomen says that Jubilee officials are grieving the death of the party. Says anger manifested by the SG is stage 2 of grief. It's political season and we are yet to see more. Gloves are off, quite literally. Now, Tuju tears into DP, calls him a selfish and greedy politician. This happened yesterday. You can read that story on the front page on the Star there. Now, woman 23, a student by day and security guard by night. Many university students use their free time to mingle and have fun, sampling nearby towns and engaging in mischievous activities. But for 23-year-old Mary Njeri, anytime she's not in class is an opportunity to make money. Njeri, a fourth-year student pursuing criminology and security studies, works as a security guard at night. Wow. Okay, Coffee Board bought 339 acres in name of ex-chairman. A directorate under the Agriculture and Food Authority bought 339 acres in Kiambu in the name of a former chairman, the Auditor General has said. You can take a look at that story as well. So in terms of vaccination here, 5.1 million doses. The government is racing against time to vaccinate 10 million by December. That is 10 million people. Nomads to be prioritized for one-shot J&J vaccine. Counties that host nomadic pastoralists will be given priority in the distribution of the COVID-19 Johnson & Johnson vaccines. This is one of the actions that the government is taking to ensure that the 10 million December target is attained. Kenya is home to many nomadic pastoralists, especially in the arid and semi-arid lands in the northeastern part of the country, such as Isiolo and Marsabit. So the race against time to vaccinate 10 million people by December. All right, the Ministry of Education had this drive to have 100% transition to high school, and now parents arrested in Kwale for failing to enroll students. Remember, CS for Education George Magoha said that no student will be arrested, but the parents will take the responsibility. 47 parents were on Monday, that is yesterday, arrested for failing to take their children to school in Kwale County. They were arrested a day after the Coast Regional Commissioner John Elungat raised the alarm over the low Form 1 intake in the region. Kwale has performed poorly among all the coastal counties in ensuring all children transit from Class 8 to Form 1. The region recorded 69% success despite the nationwide 100% transition campaign. So that is what is happening down there in Kwale, and that drive is still going to continue. So that is like a warning shot to all the parents out there from the CES of Education, George Magoha, that your student or your child will not be arrested, but you will take the responsibility. If a child is below 18, you know who takes the responsibility. That's it.
Now,
Doreen. Okay.
You've given us quite a summary there of what is making headlines, and it coincides with what I have here on the Standard, with the exception of two stories I want to highlight. I'll start off with the peculiar case of what is being treated, or rather termed as an arson attack, on county offices down in Kisumu. Now, police are exploring an arson angle to the Sunday afternoon fire of the Kisumu Prosperity House that destroyed crucial documents in Governor Anyang' Nyong'o's administration. Right? Now, this particular incident came days after the governor ordered an internal audit on approval of buildings in the county as part of efforts to streamline services. What is among the documents that were destroyed include approval plans of a number of buildings, as well as several important documents in the Lands and Planning Department. This is not the first time that this has happened whenever the governor wants, or rather attempts to address gaps in his administration. The developments come as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission said they were not following specific cases from the department, even though they are pursuing a number of land cases in the county. Now, that term, audit queries, and this goes out to all auditors out there. They run a risk, especially if a system isn't, as proper and transparent. Because whenever we call for an audit, someone has to do it, and these are auditors. A majority of them end up bearing the brunt for keeping these, processes transparent and doing their job. So this is what is happening now. Police are exploring an arson angle to the county office fire. We will leave it to them, but I'm just talking about, so who takes care of the audit, or the auditors who carry out these audits? How safe are they when they come to not just county governments, but also when they are auditing government offices or firms or organizations, or even private firms? The person who tells you, you have been investing this amount of money for XYZ, but percentage X went to so-and-so's account. Who takes care of them? Are they safe and secure? Do we have systems that uphold transparency? Do we have the zero corruption tolerance? Do we have the goodwill to accept the truth when it's done? Those are just rhetorical questions, just posing to you. We are headed to the general elections 2022, and already we're hearing a section of politicians asking their counterparts to come out clean and declare how much they pay in taxes. Remember, kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea. That is the slogan that the Kenya Revenue Authority has for all of us. Now we cross over to the ravages of COVID-19, what we have termed as COVID-19 disruptions. And we have crossed over to business, Jane and Doreen. Now there's a special report here. Every Tuesday, it's Matters Finances in this particular daily. And it has gone further to just list the number of staff that were let go during the COVID-19 year, which is 2020. And I'd want to read some that did away with over 1,000 employees in 2020. One of the listed companies there is Centum, that did away with 1,703 employees in that year. We also have Kenya Airways that let go of 1,123 members of staff. We have Kenya Power and Lighting Company that let go of 435 employees. We have NMG that let go of 260 persons during that year. But it's not all gloom, because some of the listed companies decided during this year that they're going to employ more. And I'd want to read those ones. We have Equity Bank that employed 539 persons during that year. Coop Bank went further to employ 206 persons in that year. We have Britam that employed 6. We have the Nairobi Securities Exchange that employed 2 more. And we have BAT that employed 2,144 more in 2020. And this is a survey of, members of staff at listed firms. Maybe you're wondering why I'm mentioning those two. And the header here goes, how firms pushed workers to the drain to survive the COVID-19 storm. Ponder on that. And as you ponder on that, we take a quick breather. You are watching In the Headlines on KBC Channel 1.
weekend party.
Hayawi huwa mbiu ya mgambo imelia, na kwa kawaida ikilia kuna jambo.
Mgambo uliopo hapa ni rumba kavacha, odemba na sukus.
Tutakupromoshea midundo motomoto ya Afrika, iwe kutoka kaskazini, kusini, magharibi na hata mashariki.
Rumba is here in your living room.
Na popote ulipo.
This is Bridge of Congo.
Nzambe ya sambe la kati, ako sambe la nani.
Right here on KBC Channel 1. West.
Good morning once again. If you're tuning in, this is Good Morning Kenya and you're watching In the Headlines. Now, there before we took a short break, there's so many stories that we have given you insight on. And Patrick Kamau, who is watching from Nairobi, he's responding to that story that was highlighted by Jane there, and we weighed in on the issue of, police roadblocks. He says, good morning, those police roadblocks should be blocked forever. They are simply toll stations. Remember, you can reach us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News, at Doreen Arange, at Jane Wamboi, at Victor Law, and at Bray Manyara. What is your take in regard to the stories that we are broadcasting here for you? We just broke off on, just a list of human staff in listed firms. This was just a survey to compare which companies let go of people, to what percentage, to what numbers, and which companies actually employed more during the COVID-19 pandemic there. So many of the big listed firms rushed to cut the number of workers as COVID-19 hit the economy, and the financial results and now show that they are reaping huge benefits from the layoffs. As they say, one man's what? I don't know. How does it go? Is it one man's poison is another man's poison?
And the other way around.
Kabisa. So what you think is, not of value, someone else has seen the value. The question is, why didn't you see the value in the first place? Doreen?
Sometimes that's just how it is.
Sure.
When you don't see the value, someone else sees that value and really values you the more.
But then the question is, Doreen, when another person comes into play and they see the value that the first person didn't see, why does the first person who did not see the value still want to come back now that this item has been polished and the value has been revealed?
They just realize they've missed something very important. And now it's not going to ever come back whatsoever. And that cuts across, by the way.
But then also a question that I posed to Jane. Do you think that this person who comes in sees the value of something, would let go and let the person who never saw the value take their place?
Hapo ndio unakumbukanga why you left in the first place. And this cuts across employment, relationships, anywhere. Go back to that space and then look at the reasons as to why you left. If they made sense, well and good. That was a toxic relationship. If they made sense then, but you have seen change that is worth it, again, very individual, then you can proceed with caution.
Victor, what do you think?
It's an individual decision.
Allah.
Yeah.
No sooner had we than. It is definitely very individual, whether you choose to go back or move on with life.
But again, that's why it's also important for you as a person to know your value and know what you stand for, because it becomes also important to know whether you'll go back or stay where someone is now seeing your value.
All I know is that it becomes very boring to walk when you have learned how to fly.
Ish, angusha basi.
No, Ashoka.
Angusha is
no, Panga.
I'm sorry. So, angusha punchlines.
Doreen.
All right, so even as we talk about the roadblocks and the roads and perhaps what is happening in that regard, let's just look at what Kura is perhaps doing. That is the Kenyan Urban Roads Authorities. We now know they're in a bid to continue expanding, rehabilitating roads here in the city and even beyond. And this comes after engineer Silas Kinoti, that is the Kura DG, was just speaking during the official launch of the Kisumu Lakefront Development Corporation. This is part of what they're trying to do to continue rehabilitating most of the roads, as well as just trying to ensure that there's proper infrastructure. And his reason was that over 60% of the population is projected to move to the cities in the next few years, and that's why there's a need for intensive investments in urban infrastructure. So again, this is just one of the reasons why you've been seeing a lot of ongoing roadworks in mostly cities in Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, Nakuru, and also therein. Again, just try to ensure that the aspirations outlined in the Vision 2030 and the Big Four agenda come to fruition. So that's that when it comes to what Kura is trying to do. We also have one of those key projects that they're trying to also ensure that comes to a completion, and this is the upgrade of the Kajiado Town Road, which is going to cost a total of 588 million. Again, trying to ensure that there's proper infrastructure, given those statistics that have been given out there, that in the next few years, the bigger population is going to move to the urban centers, from rural to the urban centers there. And coming to also what the government is trying to do in regards to drought in most parts of the country, various counties, key among them being Turkana, Marsabit, Garissa, Wajir there, at least just trying to ensure that they allocate 2 billion to combat that ongoing drought, which has been brought about by the failed rains between October and December of 2020, that is the long rains, and also that anticipated short rains, which quite didn't happen as it was anticipated, that is between the months of March and May of this year. And again, if we also miss those rains again in the month of October, that is when there will really be that serious drought in various counties. I've already mentioned some of them, but the estimated number of counties is 10 counties. So that's why the government is just in a bid to try and ensure that they allocate those monies for those specific counties. And also, in addition to those monies, they are trying to provide safety nets to cushion over 100,000 households in those various counties, again, that I've just talked about. That is Turkana being among them. There's also Garissa, Wajir, as well as Mandera. Now, when it comes to COVID-19, we obviously know that at least, again, the state is trying to ensure that by the end of December, 10 million persons need to be vaccinated, and there's they've come up with various measures, key among them being outreaches in various places across the country. There's also the introduction of ensuring that PWDs are also added to that list. Remember that when that vaccination process began in March, those that were listed among the essential services, the healthcare workers, teachers, those are the ones who were of priority for those vaccines. But also now, as they try to get to that 10 million mark, they're also putting into place PWDs as one of those priority persons to get those vaccines there. And we also have coming to 2022 there, that is the former premier who takes 2022 battle to hustlers. That is the ODM leader who says that he is best bet to resolve border problems. And this also just happened at the Orange House as he was addressing those border riders there, even as they were giving their issues there. So which one will actually get to reach to the heart of who we call the hustlers? You know, as everyone is trying to popularize their bid, they are trying to ensure that they get to reach the common mwananchi. We obviously also have that story of the Jubilee Secretary General, that is Tuju, and the main header just reads that stop blackmail. That is what Tuju tells Ruto, as the Jubilee leader accuses the DP of, among other things, including lies and tribalism, and dares him to publicize his tax returns if his wealth is legitimate. That is what Tuju is saying. But his allies also say that those are signs of a failed leader. And the bigger question, just like what we kept asking, is that why is so much focus centered on the DP and his wealth, and why specific just now? You know, there's that question there. And also, women impressive rise to the top. These are key, among them being Kome, Ngilu, and Waiguru, who are now feted among 100 most influential women in Africa. A feat that gives a peek into the rise of women to powerful positions in public service. Someone said that perhaps it's time for women to come up and rise and take their positions.
Wagwan. Power to the women. Power to the women. Oh, yes. Now, Ray, there's a story that you had mentioned during the brief, the GMK news brief, in regards to a woman who decided to outman him. So the lady, Margaret Wanjiru, 52 years, killed her husband. Let me get his name. Where is it? Nilikuwa nimeiona hapa tu sai. 99-year-old. So let me give you some more details of what has been captured here. Very briefly, Murang'a couple is said to have had a rocky marriage. Mind you, they were married for 52 years. 52. Are we together? So the police have arrested this lady, suspected of beheading her husband. The police said she killed him by first cutting off his right ear and then slitting his throat. As per the account that has been given, it said that they have been married for 52 years under customary law, but they have lived together for only about 15 years, and they have 6 children together. Over the years, they have been having a lot of conflict regarding paternity of the children, family land, and suspicion of infidelity. So the reason as to why it ended how it ended was as a result of the daughter-in-law of Wanjiru, who had given the deceased breakfast against her will. And this is something that she was against for a while, because she refused her family members to give financial and food to the man, saying that she's very capable of taking care of him. To some point, they even wanted to take him to a home for the elderly to receive better care, but she refused and was very angered by this. So on this particular incident, the daughter-in-law had given the deceased breakfast, and the husband, of course, to the daughter-in-law came out to defend her, but it is said that this particular lady lost it, went into a spurt of rage, and in that spurt of anger, she ran for a machete, which she used to kill her husband. First, by cutting off the ear, then the throat, and it is also reported that the man had some deep cuts on the right forearm. You know, when we say, it is also reported that she had been in and out of this marriage over the years. They had issues, walks out, comes back again, walks out, comes back again. This goes back to just what we have said a while ago. Should you choose to leave whatever entity that may be, and then you decide to come back, knowing very well the reasons as to why you left in the first place, and consciously knowing you're going back there again, are you aware of what you're putting yourself in or through again? And if you are aware of that, how ready are you to live with the consequences of your choice? Clearly from this particular story, you know, issues to do with infidelity, land issues, property has always been a very big problem, especially in our African setup. And it has been a big source of marriages breaking down. But now, for over 52 years, guys, back and forth in a relationship for 52 years, 6 children later. only for it to end
So
in
she
the death of this 99-year-old man.
Let's look at the wounds. So she started by cutting off his ear.
The right one.
I'm sure someone would interpret that maybe he wasn't listening to her all those years and decided to off the ear first.
Regina.
You remember also Peter did the same, yeah? When Jesus, you know, those who read the Bible. I'm just saying. Ain't saying nothing. I'm just saying. I remembered that, you know, it's just Tuesday. We were in church on Sunday. So I remembered when they were coming to take Jesus away, Peter did away with someone's ear. And Jesus actually picked the ear from the ground and fixed it. I think that was the last miracle healing that Jesus performed before he was crucified at Golgotha. Anyway, the woman decided to go for the ear first. I don't think I have anything else to say. I have nothing. You're expecting me to say something? I even don't know why I'm smiling. I'm not even smiling about that issue. I'm just wondering what was going on through the 65-year-old woman's head when...
The daughter-in-law says that she had never seen her this angry.
I think she had gotten to her end of thinking capacity, that ECT aspect. If you have been together, yes. You know, and if you look at how she went about murdering her husband, because now
was very personal.
You see passion in it. I think this is what you call crimes of passion, because you see in a moment, in a flash, someone you'd never, 65, that's a grandma, literally, offing the granddad. You know, you look at it, you're like, how many years? What has she been bottling?
52.
Over the last 52 years. What has she been keeping in her heart? And she couldn't take it no more. Because I am sure it is not just about the meal. It isn't. And I wish whenever we, as a media, I don't know if there's that opportunity, but you see, this is a matter that is in investigation. I think this is something I would want to ask. Like, have an interview. You know, I read, there's a fictional book I read, Interview with a Vampire. It's also a film. But what I got from that particular film is that we need to ask the backstory to understand if this is a serial killer. What was going through your head? What was your trigger? And it actually, I don't know if I should relate to a gun incident that took place in Florida yesterday, where a man shot 4 people at random, including a mother cradling a baby. And when this former Marine was questioned, he said that he had heard God's voice directly. And he drove around shooting people at random. So they went further to actually want to know what was his driving force. And this came through. Even in one of his victims, he says that there was a man who was mowing his lawn on Saturday night when Riley drove by his home in Lakeland, about 48 kilometers east of Tampa, and saying God told him to stop because Gleason's daughter was going to commit suicide. So someone randomly is driving down the road. They see you minding your business. They decide, you know what? God has told me to stop right here because your daughter, they don't even know if he has a daughter or not, is going to commit suicide, so I'm going to off you first. You know? What goes through their head? I would want to know, because it would inform other things. I don't know, it's just...
Regina, perhaps if I just chipped in, I think it's... there's a psychologist who said that when that aspect of committing suicide, of killing someone, gets into someone's head, that person is sick. It's sickness. So if I say...
by virtue of having those thoughts?
Exactly. That person is sick. And that person should be taken to a hospital or a psychiatrist for a mental checkup and, basically for treatment, all right? This is somebody who've killed a husband, and according to Jen, they've been married for how many years?
52.
52 good
Under
years.
customary law, that
all right?
is.
And they've lived together for 15 years.
Yes.
Then it means that the remaining part of their marriage, they've had issues. And it was just a matter of time before such a thing happened. And probably this lady, the way you said, Regina, there is a backstory. If they've been married for all those years under customary law, but they've only been living together for 15 years and they have got 6 kids, then it means that they've been living separately for a very long time because of accusations of integrity, you know, what are the allegations there?
Infidelity, property,
and all that, all right? So there is just so much that is shrouded in that kind of situation in that family that perhaps the lady saw it that this man at that age, 95, 99, according to the story, he was weak. He could not defend himself. And even from the pain and, you know, the injury inflicted on the man, he was trying to defend himself, all right? You know, some deep cuts on the hand. Perhaps he was trying to defend himself. And at that particular point, the thought of, I will kill this man, already rang in that lady's mind for a very long time. So at that particular point, it was a done deal. It was a done deal. But then, it's a crazy world.
I mean, there is always a backstory. Just going from
there's a backstory.
Going from what Amboy you've read and also Ray, and at times people would blame it on anything. Like from your story, Ray, God. How does even God tell you to do such kind of a thing? That there's always a backstory, and the way we are saying, by the time you're doing it, it has always been on your minds. That's why an issue like food, an issue like 50 bob. You see, like those stories we were looking at last week where a tout such small issues like then you sit and wonder what had 50 shillings got to do with this murder case. Then you realize there's been a lot that has been going on people's mind, and people are tired over so many issues that a small thing like food, like 50 shillings, like 100 shillings, that's where someone just blows up. Well, they've been thinking about it all through and through.
Well, these are just our opinions. Remember, the investigation is underway. We are not saying that this is what was happening. We're just trying to understand the same way you'd read this particular piece of news, or even on the website, or even in the papers, and try to ask yourself, 65, 99-year-old, married for 52 years, lived together 15 years.
What is the problem?
Yes, but hey, we might never know. You know,
I'm just wondering.
Dead men tell no tales.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm just wondering how many years this lady would spend in jail.
I'm wondering too. That is
at that age.
If actually, because this is irrefutable evidence is actually produced, and this goes through all the motions. And she gets a conviction. Supposing she gets a conviction.
It will be so hard for her because, okay, just thinking, if she's convicted and said, you know what, you'll have to pay for your sins. I can imagine the man has rested, yes, but the anguish and, you know, at that age, it's terrible. So, anyway, think about before you make any
decision.
Exactly, yeah.
Mume realized the guy was 34 when she was being born.
When the lady was being born.
Wacha, age is nothing but a number.
Wow, okay.
The star.
Okay.
I repeat, age is nothing but a number. Thank you very much, Victor.
Okay, very quickly, as we transition to the next hour, in politics, of course, Uhuru allies, Karua, Kiunjuri, planned meeting with Mount Kenya leaders. Of course, this is something that we'll be discussing the next hour with our analyst already in studio. The forum is seeking consensus on the region's agenda ahead of 2022 elections. It has emerged that a caucus dubbed Mount Kenya Unity Forum is reaching out to Tanga and Kilaweke MPs for the crucial meeting to come up with region's wish list. On Monday, NAK Kenya party leader Martha Karua and the Service Party boss, that is Mwangi Kiunjuri, held talks with some of the President Uhuru Kenyatta's confidants at a Nairobi Serena Hotel. So we'll be discussing that in the next hour, just to understand how that would pan out. And again, Waiguru says, I can't rule out working with the DP, but says it's a bit too early for a discussion on whether should join Ruto's UDA. Waiguru, however, said that it's a bit too early to have such a discussion. The governor opened up about her 2022 political plan, saying that while she cannot clearly say whether or not she will join UDA, the people of Kirinyaga will have the ultimate decision. So the county chief has recently signaled to change her 2022 political course, especially after the court's setbacks that roiled the Building Bridges initiative process to amend the Constitution. That is as far as that is concerned. Again, tough new laws to deter child neglect. The government has drawn a new set of laws spelling out a raft of hefty fines for child neglect and abuse, especially in social and electronic media spaces. The Children Bill 2021 seeks to repeal the Children Act 2001 to provide for penalties for denying a child the right to life, survival, well-being and development. The bill, sponsored by Majority Leader Amos Kinymunya, gives the state powers to take measures against any abuses of child rights and neglect of personal responsibility. So on parental responsibility, the bill provides that where a child is born in wedlock, the parents of the child shall have parental responsibility for the child on an equal basis. Yeah, we have like 3 minutes to go.
Take responsibility.
Yes, equal responsibility. And this is something we talked about. Was it a week or so ago?
Just last week, actually.
Yes, we discussed about this. And I can't remember, it was heated.
Hii debate ya 50-50.
Yeah, finje hii.
Hamza.
Okay. Yesterday we talked about, maybe if you want to get into that, I don't know.
Proceeding with caution, I like it.
What are you saying?
There's a case here. Former senator seeks to postpone 2022 polls. I just want to go to that story, but I realized...
tunakuona sana. When it comes to parental, tunakuona sana. Please, you need to...
No, Regina, we discussed about it last week, so I was moving.
You're walking on thin ice.
The next story.
Very thin.
Make ni wala na testing imagine na kidole ya mguu.
Ataki kukua clear.
Well,
but
okay, there's no problem with Cap 39 of the Children's Act that says that the child needs to benefit from both parents.
Yes.
But when you say both parents, to what capacities? We've had leaders come out and say that this 50-50 should be made 50-50, but then I am wondering, this 50-50, how do we equate the 50-50? Because when you look at that particular act, they talk about housing, they talk about medical, they talk about the basics, and education. Those are the 4 things that I understand that are listed there in the 50-50. So do you split it half? Because it doesn't take care of the other small things. So if people are thinking that it's going to go to the nitty-gritty details of who should attend XYZ, who should deal with a scrape XYZ, it doesn't deal with that. It just deals with the 4 main things: the basic needs, the food and shelter, the education, the medical. Those are the things, and food, yes, as well as clothing, you know, those are the basics. So, Sir Victor, there was no need of you to get worked up.
Yeah, no. Actually, just the bill, at the end of the bill, it seeks to penalize any parent who doesn't take responsibility. Because let's look at it this way. You know, a child, kitambo tulikuwa tunaambiwa mtoto hakuandika barua zaliwe. A child did not have an application, did not make an application. So once you decided to bring forth a life, then you have to take responsibility. So the bill seeks to, should the MPs approve the bill, it will be an offense for any parent to fail to take care of their children to hospital, and they would risk 50,000 shillings fine or 30 days in jail. The new law also sets 2 million shillings fine or 5 years in jail for subjecting a child to any form of abuse, including psychological, emotional, and mental distress. So the bill further sets a 1-year jail term or 200,000 shillings for discrimination of a child on the grounds of age, origin, sex, religion, creed, custom, language, or status, race, disability, tribe, and residence.
All I would want to say to our parliamentarians, I know we are walking to the general elections 2022. If you've not done anything for Wanjiko, this one you have to do it for our children.
You can do this one.
Kindly let them just do this one. It has no, political implications. Yes, we know, but we'll be securing the life of the children and not to favor any gender. Because if I'm a mother and I'm going to inflict that kind of psychological, mental torture on a child, then it also puts me in check. It is not gender-based.
Face the consequences.
If they have not done anything?
But does it have to get to that point where you're being taken to jail, you're being all manner of things?
And that's what we discussed last week also. Does it have to get to that point? You are the parent of this child. Whether you decide to go separate ways, the child does not need to suffer because...
Can I tell you something?
Tukifunga.
Common sense is not so common
to everyone.
Capish. Good morning once again. I'm Regina Manyara. Enjoy your viewing. So much is coming up in not too long, so not go away. Keep us company.
A very short time wewe kumharibia familia yake. So jambo la kununua nyumba is not a big deal for him.
I'm not up for your stupid silly games, wakili. Kwani ni mtoto wangu? Hata akaenda nyumba za wazee mimi sijali, ama wewe wajali? Ameenda kwa boyfriend yake. Wazimu wa nyumba umemchokesha.
Hawa watu ukiwapatia nafasi watakupanda kichwani na mambo yako yote yataharibika. Ndio maana inabidi unawafuga kama mbuzi.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo.
If Flavia loves you, you have my blessings.
Thank you, Daddy.
Eloisa, I want to be with you until the very last moment of my life. Bravo!
This year, the winner by a clear margin is this young man, Lucio Montesinos.
Bravo! I won! I will love you. Always.
Always. Quiero amarte de una forma diferente.
Majesty, I will gladly repay you with my life, but I beg you to spare my brother.
Good. Remember your promise.
Can we defeat them?
Those vessels can't easily be defeated.
Then I have to go see him.
Hey, hold on.
I won't go. You can't make me. I'm staying. Forever.
Go now!
夜风般吹散沉香，香满旗檐上。这一味当归入药汤，相思泪水。
5 minutes past 8 a.m. time for that second traffic link this Tuesday. We are still focusing on what is happening along Ngong Road, and simply because of those reasons that I gave you earlier. So let's just quickly try and see how the route is looking like. Remember, I told you there's a lot happening on this specific route. We're expecting the bus rapid transit system to begin anytime that third phase is complete in terms of construction. It's still underway, just some small few things here and there. They're the ones remaining, but the moment that is complete, again, we'll just try to track and see how that will be coming along. So perhaps we can now change route and see how the roundabout is looking like just before you get to branch off to Ngong Road there, and that is the city mortuary. roundabout, obviously one of those busy roundabouts, and again just taking its shape, looking at how it is looking like this morning. Heavy kind of traffic there, specific to that lane that is getting over, branching off to Ngong Road as you head over to the estates on that particular section. On the other side of Valley Road, not so bad. As you leave the other section of Mbagathi Way, still not so bad. Again, you can remember that also on this specific route there had been some bit of ongoing works there in terms of installation of that footbridge, which had been brought down last year. In terms of completion, installation rather, that is already complete, and this is how the section is looking like this morning. Bit of a traffic there just as you leave areas of high rise, leaving areas of Mbagathi District Hospital as you come to the city center via the roundabout there. On the other section of Ngong Road as you head over to Kenyatta, not so bad as well. In fact, along that area, that is Kenyatta, that is one of the places where the 3-foot bridges in between the first phase and the second phase has been designated. One of them is around the Kenyatta Hospital there. That hasn't yet been installed. So that's why I'm saying that there's some big bits of ongoing roadworks in between first phase and second phase that are still yet to be complete. But in terms of road reconstruction, that is already complete. Still, the other remaining roadworks is on the third phase of this particular route or particular road there, up until the BRT, begins, the bus rapid transit system process begins. But again, when it comes to traffic, still again not so bad actually this morning. Also on that area where would really witness heavy kind of traffic around the Coptic Hospital. Again, another area where that footbridge has been designated to be installed. So clearly also that hasn't quite happened, but this is how the area is looking like this morning. Not so bad as well in terms of traffic, just on some sections where there's a bit of a gridlock, but altogether still manageable kind of traffic. And again, specific to that lane that is coming to the city center. One of the things that is also expected as you head over to the CBD, the early morning hours on major roads here in Nairobi or even beyond, this is just actually what you'd expect to see. So what you're seeing is basically again what we would expect to see. On the other section, not so bad. So it simply means also that if your workstation is along this route or you're going along this area, still right now is the best time for you to do that, because just going about by what we are seeing majorly along the same route, moving at a very swift pace, and that continues up until the Prestige Plaza, one of those busy areas as well. In fact, the first phase of this construction begins from the Kenya National Library up until this area, up until the Prestige Plaza, then from Prestige all the way to areas around Karen, then going all the way up until the Goreti area. So this is how the area is looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Not so bad. So again, simply means that we do not need to look at any alternative routes, at least as of now. That's how your road is looking like at just 9 minutes past 8 a.m.
And it's that particular time that we now have to go to our political debate. And we just need to talk about issues, politics, and what affects you politically in the country currently. And with me in studio, I have got two gentlemen who are best to help me discuss these issues. I have got Dr. Rotich, as always. Dr. Karibu-san.
Thank you so much, Olo.
You're welcome. And Muthiora.
Thanks for having me.
Former presidential deputy aspirant. We'll talk about the issue of having the deputies. You went through the process, and even your boss then. What we need to understand, because people are now jostling to have their running mates right now.
That's true.
That's true, yes.
And instead of saying former, because you're headed into 2022,
okay,
you might as well add 2022 presidential aspirant.
Did you just make a declaration on a national television?
Well, in case you haven't heard it,
I hope we got that clearly.
Muthiora Kariara, the former presidential running mate,
right,
is running for president in 2022.
Oh, okay. Director, now we need to have more security in the studio. It's going to be different.
But let's just hope that it will not be withdrawn midway after we try to hold people.
We wish you all the best. We wish you all the best.
Thank
Absolutely.
you very much.
Gloves are off, Dr. Gloves are off. And yesterday, from what we had, just to start from where we should, the Party Secretary General of Jubilee Party, it seems that gloves are off and no politician is not going to leave anything untouched. They say they are not going to leave any stone unturned, and quite literally, they're doing so, right?
I think, although something that we must differentiate in this case, that Raphael Tuju is not vying for any presidential, he's not a candidate in the presidential race. And the politics he's actually playing, to me, I was looking at it, how he's actually approaching up the whole thing. Actually, they are going personal. It's no longer politics.
It's personal.
It's going personal. Why I'm saying this, the deputy president has not accused anybody in the party. He just left the party, and let me not say he left the party, but per se, he seems to be playing a different league, which in this case, it looks like it is competing with the party itself, the Jubilee itself, because he's running a UDF, the league. So in this case, when you look at it, because how to approach up the whole thing, they say, look, we want this guy to explain to us how we got this wealth. And of course, you know, law in this country, there was a proposal that was made once to do what we call self-style audit.
Yes.
Which, of course, it has not been done. And it was supposed to start from the top to the grassroots. So in this case, recently, the Minister of Interior came up with the list of properties that Ruto owns. And Ruto actually admitted that 70% of the allocation that was made are actually right. So in this case, and then he went on to say, I'm grateful to those who have started the lifestyle audit, but they should not stop there. They'll have to move on to other people. So in this case, some of these people, they are on a mission for, which I may call, it is a character assassination mission. To do the damaging of the achievement that the deputy president has actually gained politically. And in this case, I would wish the confrontation that these guys are actually showing, it should be played by the competitors themselves. I want to see Right Honorable Raila Odinga, I want to see Akina Mudavadi, I want to see Mukiza Gidu, I want to see all these people talking the tough language that Tuju is actually talking. Because they are actually competing with the deputy president. They have actually come up for the presidential race. So in this case, I even don't want to call a party issue because it has nothing to do with the party position. But what they are actually saying is that we want the deputy president to explain to us how he got this wealth. Without necessarily refiling to other competitors. Why Ruto to declare?
Yes.
And even him, he's in a better position. 70% of his wealth is known. Maybe 30%.
That's according to him.
Yeah, that's according to him.
Right.
So in this case, I think I'm seeing politics played in a different quarter. I want to see the competitors undressing themselves politically, but not those who are at the site, like Tuju, going too personal.
Right. Muthiora?
Well, if the gloves are off, it's the voters, the Kenyan people, who need to take their gloves off even faster. Because they are the people who have been let down by our leadership the most. You look at Raphael Tuju. We've been silent about him being a cabinet secretary without portfolio. We were told that he was there to ensure that the implementation of the Jubilee promise actually comes to be. We know they have fallen way short of the promises they made to Kenyans. Now, leave that aside. He's the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party. And in Kenya's history, if there is a party that has crumbled the fastest, it's the Jubilee Party. So we must call this incompetence out at this point, because if you look at the presser that he did yesterday, he called the other side goons.
Yes.
Yet
and actually said that the deputy president should tell his goons to go slow. Right.
Yet he was there holding someone else's brief and acting in a manner to suggest that he has goonship in him as well.
But somebody would argue that's a political term they use to refer to each other.
Well, if you live in a glass house, you should never be in the habit of throwing stones because they'll be thrown back at you. He mentioned that he was not going to go into the pigsty. And then he went right there. He brought the deputy president's family into the whole matter when he was telling the deputy president's people to desist from referring to other families. So you cannot have your cake and eat it.
Daktari, when let me just quote here from the newspaper here. Jubilee Party challenges the DP to publicly declare his taxes following his admission that he owns 70% of the properties listed by the Interior CS, as well as 200,000 chickens, giving him an income of 1.5 million shillings per day through the sale of eggs. This is just part of the allegation, or what Tuju said yesterday. But then now, the question of integrity. Are we seeing a situation where somebody is pushing the deputy president into a tight corner?
Although deputy president has never refused that some lifestyle audit should be done. In fact, he did accept, and he has been arguing that others also should follow the suit. He has not refused. And in any case, although if there are people who are suspicious about the wealth that His Excellency the deputy president is having, I mean, we have the competent departments who does that job. We have the EACC, we have all those people. I mean, instead of coming into the media, why don't you take it to the relevant authorities? I mean, so what I look at it this way, this is actually what you call, and why immediately after the president having a successful tour to Mount Kenya, I mean, you saw the Mammon crowd who actually throng. I don't know whether, according to Tuju, these are the goons. So in this case, I think such vulgar language, such a language should not be used in this, especially at this time. We need, I mean, we should at all times hold our leaders actually accountable for whatever utterance that they are making, because they are inflaming this country. When the deputy president went to the Mount Kenya, I mean, he went to church. I mean, some people tried to block. He did whatever he did. But it was a successful journey because Kenyans were there on the ground to welcome him. It was not about the individual, I mean, few people who were actually trying to block him up. But in this case, I would wish we go the right way. Let the relevant authorities play their key role. If it is EACC, let them come up and disclose what the president. I mean, and let me tell you, Olo, let me ask you today. Where did the Minister of Interior, Matiang'i, got the information? The government has the information of all the government employees and even those who are in authority. Because we normally declare, the civil servant declare wealth. And the deputy president is part of the team who have declared their own wealth. So they have the wealth, they have the information about what His Excellency the deputy president has. I mean, what further information? If they are in any way in doubt about how this match was actually acquired, I mean, there are relevant authorities. You don't go to the press. The press cannot. I mean, the main objective was to take it into the public.
Just to interject, somebody would argue that the Tuju was just responding to what Deputy President said, that he is a farmer. Yes, we all know that. He sells over 200,000 shillings. He makes a sale of 1.5 million shillings per day. So perhaps somebody would argue that he was just trying to push him to declare his stand in terms of taxes.
Let me tell you, Lo, I mean, it is in public domain. Where did we get the word hustler? And Ruto has declared long time ago that he started his business with the cuckoos. And if it is in public domain, ask even a standard 4 job, he will tell you that Ruto started with the chickens or the hens. Where, you want to tell me these guys came the other day from Jerusalem? I mean, so this is what I'm saying. I mean,
okay, all right.
The most important thing that we must know.
Allow me to interject.
No, 1 minute. Yes.
This is a lie.
You see, what was unearthed the other day by the minister? Mheshimiwa Matiang'i. What was unearthed? What was disclosed? There was nothing new that many Kenyans never knew.
Really?
Okay. I mean, about the chickens, it has been in public domain. Go to the YouTube, try to get how Ruto got this well, and you get that part of it is the chicken.
Right.
Hello.
Yes.
Allow me to put some things into perspective.
Go ahead.
He's mentioned about the deputy president being a hustler. Well, maybe we shouldn't argue about that. We should just state it as it is. If I can use the language we use in the streets, yeye ni hustler mwitu.
Right.
Now, him being a hustler mwitu can be established using the following facts. Tuju yesterday made the mistake of using the wrong forum. Otherwise, whatever matters he was raising had substance. But then the manner in which he did it is what we call to question. Now, why I call him hustler mwitu is because, number one, in the period where his wealth has risen the most has been the period during which he has had influence. It has been the same period when most Kenyans' fortunes have dwindled. So it can't be that he is such an astute businessman who thrives in an environment where everybody else's business is falling apart. So the best thing he should have done is to ensure that he's not the only hustler thriving when others are struggling, are hanging on. So he's used his influence to gain that undue advantage which has placed him where he is. Now, on the other issue that he mentioned about an event that happened over the weekend, you look at their response. They have asked their followers to stop subscribing to certain media houses. That's a tactic that has been overtaken by time. We must encourage competition in a way that it does not discriminate, in a way that it does not victimize. So if this is how we are going to be doing these things, we must call everyone to be responsible. Do not speak A and do B when clearly people are counting on you because they put you in office. So I would wish that we change the tactics. We stop raising the temperatures like we have seen in the past couple of days. Now, the other thing is this. We have institutions. I have insisted that what we need to do is to focus on building our institutions instead of focusing on individuals. Because individuals can have a stand today, and when their interests change, that stand changes. But we are building a nation where we should focus on principles and values. So Raphael Tuju, being the Secretary General of the ruling party, should focus more on building the party than destroying an individual. And I take issue on him because their incompetence, instead of even succeeding in curtailing this individual, has actually been propelling him further and further every time they attack him.
Yes. Dr. do you agree with that statement? I totally agree with him, and there is an area where he is actually maybe alluding that maybe the deputy president may have actually took the advantage of the position and all this to acquire whatever the wealth that he has acquired. But when I look at it, although deputy president is not a young man, he has come a long way. He was in the Moi regime when he was a youth, YK 92, then he grew up to the level where he is. We have a long way. I mean, 10 years down the line are not a few years. If we had all the ambitions to acquire wealth, I think he had all this time to do that. And in this case, although I believe we have the competent authorities who can easily investigate without prejudice on how this wealth was achieved or how we attained. And in any case, I also long to see an environment where there is no selective justice, selective approach. Why the deputy president now? Why not others? They are not talking about the rest who are actually competing with this excellent the deputy president. We have, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, we have Mudavadi, we have all these great men of this land. Have they been audited? Have they been put into the picture the way Tuju is trying to reflect Ruto? What is so special about Ruto? I mean, that is why the whole world look at you and ask themselves whether it is not personal that you are actually, driving a personal vendetta over a leader of a country. And in this case, Wanolo, we have come of age. What made Ruto to run away from the Jubilee Party? It is the same characteristics that we are witnessing, actually. Simmering kind of bitterness, which has no basis. Because this country is a country that is independent of thought, independent of managing their own resources. And in this case, we have competent authorities who can easily authenticate the origin of all these things they are talking about. And I believe it is the wrong forum you go to. I mean, to me, I call that one, the forum itself was actually meant to character assassinate His Excellency the Deputy President because of his ambition. I mean nothing more than that. I don't even want to call it political, because if it was political, he must have given actually a balanced approach in the whole thing. He should have actually talked of other things. In fact, he came up talking about, I thought maybe he was going to come up to talk about the party issues. What is bedevailing the party as it is now? I mean, the party has been undergoing a lot of challenges. He should have really emphasized, or rather use a lot of energy to talk about how they can reform the party, how they can reform the party to prepare it for the 2022 election. Instead, 90% or 99% of the talk was actually concentrated on a particular being who is no longer even concentrating in that party. I mean, he should not waste time talking. I mean, to me, I look at that as a diversionary tactics from the real issues actually bedefiling the party.
Dr. Perhaps I just put this clear, that the SG was responding to what Deputy President said, and during that, for example, he said that he runs a cuckoo farm, all right? He makes 1.5 million shillings per day. That was according to the Deputy President. Let me also put it this way. Ruto admitted that he owned 70% of the property listed by the CS, adding that he also rears 200,000 chicken, which gives him 1.5 million shillings every day from the sale of eggs. The DP also revealed that he has 400,000 shares at Safaricom and another 80,000 shares at Kenya Airways. The Jubilee Party Secretary General noted that his own account, Ruto told Kenyans that he was worth 100 million shillings in 2015. So where did the SG go wrong to demand a disclosure from the DP? Muthiora.
Well, he did not go wrong. Right. I just said that the way he did it and the forum he used, that's where he got it wrong. Yeah. We can go into a lot of issues. And if time allows, allow me to begin.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Because there is a matter. He's mentioned about Kenya having competent authorities to investigate these matters. The National Land Commission investigated the matter over the Weston Hotel and concluded that that property was irregularly acquired. And even said that Weston's owners need to compensate KCAA for the land at market price. Now, we know who the owner of that hotel is. Instead of playing ball and admitting liability and apologizing and maybe giving back that public land, they have gone to court afresh to try and get away with these thievery that they had done. You recall that when their insatiable appetite for land grabbing was not met, they went as far as wanting to grab a playground of the Langata Primary School. So when assertions are made, they are based on facts that, yes, the Deputy President has peddled his influence to gain undue advantage. Now, we can go to all the other matters, and there are many. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the fact that we have a presidential aspirant here who is still in the ruling party, advocating the policies of a different party and antagonizing his boss. And the officials of that party, instead of using correct channels and institutions to address whatever grievances they have, they politic around this matter and just make everything messy. So we have a situation in Kenya where we seem like we are going to go to war when actually it's just a few individuals. In this case, I would even say less than 5 who are not agreeing and making it a problem for the entire nation. That's where we need to fix. Let's focus on these parties doing what they need to do. Jubilee needs to call its members to order. If we go to court, the courts need to act expeditiously so that we have a clean slate on which to run to the next election.
It's, Dr. From what he said, and just from what I read from the newspaper here, it's an open secret right now that it's going to be murky moving forward. You bring it on, I bring it on. It's a game of, what did you say? Okay, I'm going to respond. And somebody would argue that they'll be using the media to wash their dirty linen in public. This is quite synonymous with our politicians across the country every election year. So what should happen therefore?
I think, Olo, you should know that Ruto is not a visitor in this country. He has been there over the years.
Sure.
They are now completing the 10 years with this excellent, the president himself, having come a long way.
Yeah.
What is it that is new in Kenya that the people are now learning about Ruto? And why this time? Let me tell you, Olo, this is all politics. And
yes.
It is all politics. Because
Yes.
when you look at the trend of politics that we have come a long way, sometimes we can accuse Ruto that he started politics very early. But as it is now, he has, the environment has really vindicated him. Because most of the people are saying that according to the ratings of the popularity or the influence of Ruto is over 60%. Which in my own observation, it can be even 70, 80. So in this case, had he not started early, would he be where he is today? I mean, Kenyans, and what these guys are now trying to do, they are trying to do what we call the damages.
Yeah.
To bring down the deputy president, his popularity. And that is why now, these days, they have even gone the ugly path, going to block the road, of going to the church. Where we are heading as Kenyans, I think it is a high time we come back to soberness, we come back to our senses, and look at the bigger picture of the peace that this country should enjoy.
Yeah.
In this case, politics will end as at August 2022, after the election. We shall be back on our streets, building the nation.
Yeah.
So in this case, I think we need to manage our politics. And the kind of utterances that these guys are coming up in the open, talking to the people against an individual, that is, you are quoting the chaos yourself as a leader. You should not go into television. You should go to the institutions which are actually manning the cases. We have our courts. Like now, you talk about the case of Mambuya Western Hotel. We had this case that these guys have been referring to Kimwarer.
Yeah.
Haji once talks, and he said that Ruto is not in any way linked to Kimwarer. But this guy this guy keeps on telling us as if it is a scripture in the Bible. It is politics in this case. And if it is not politics, I believe we have the courts who are competent enough to arbitrate these cases and come up with the final verdicts of us as Kenyans.
But don't you think it's going to be... what should the deputy president do at this particular point then?
Let me tell you, whatever he's doing, he has been doing. He's a politician. He has to answer back. He has to reply back. He has a team who will tell Kenyans the truth about the matter. You can do all your allegations, but by the end of the day, the public will be informed about the reality of what's actually happening. You do the allocation, you do the allegations, whichever magnitude that you can. But the public, let me tell you, Olo, Kenyans are more wiser than ever. Go to the grassroots, they are the one talking. Go to where they are the one talking. So in this case, if as much as these people are talking about the bottom-up economy, I'm also telling you what we are experiencing is a bottom-up information. The guys on the ground are more informed and that of what's happening, and they are the one tilting the country itself.
You have give us a new approach. A bottom-up what? Information.
Yeah, bottom-up information. In fact, the information are coming from, simmering from the common man.
Okay.
Those people whom we used to think that we are taking to them the information. The information used to move from the leaders to the people on the ground.
Yes.
But the way it is now, it is the opposite. Information are coming up to the leaders, telling that be real. We are not going that direction that you are taking us. And that is why you overheard about the governor, Kirinyaga Waiguru. He said, I will go to my people and I will get what they are saying, and whatever they will decide, I will go there. Wakisema uende UDA nitaenda huko. These are things that are happening. It is not Waiguru telling our own people. It is her people telling her that, yes, this is the direction we are going to take. And that is the politics of Kenya as we are talking today.
Okay. Let me give this bottom approach of information so that we take a break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the issue. We're still going to talk about more of politics of tolerance. We saw what happened over the weekend. We are slowly getting into the climax of politics in Kenya. And you were part of the campaign team in 2017. You know what happens. We've been there. We've covered this for quite a long time. Are we slowly getting into that space of intolerance in politics? Or should we get it differently this time around? Let's take a break and we'll discuss more on this when we come back. Stay around.
To get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#.
Did you know that you have complete control over everything that surrounds you? Yes, fully control over all that comes out of the seas, the earth, and the universe. That control is your thinking. Good thoughts bear good fruits, but bad thoughts will always bear bad fruits. Control your thinking.
To get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#. *811*961#.
Timbi na Timbelio.
Mambo vipi watu wangu? Mama, karibu sana, karibu tena. Kachiri kijulikana kama Bildadi kama kawaida. Mama, okay. G-Clef inamaanisha music kabisa. Au sio? Mama, Risan Romeo. Wewe ndio mshikaji pale peke yako ama kuna baadhi ya wasanii wengine ndugu yangu?
Mimi nafanya kazi hapo kama msanii pekee.
Pamoja tunafikisha nambari.
Inomba usiwe mkali sana ukiziwi waro. Mama usiwe mkali sana itikero inakuita. Hello, hello.
Being together is dangerous. He is my father's enemy.
Over my dead body.
And welcome back. We are still going on with our conversation here in studio with Dr. Rotich and Muthiora Carriera. Just trying to understand what's making our lives easy or hard, whichever you look at it. Politics. Okay. So before we went on a break, we were talking about the issue of. He talked about the issue of having bottom-up flow of information. And I think that's a very good point because lack of information is quite dangerous.
Yes.
To all of us, even here in studio, lack of information. So I think we can buy that. We can buy that. Allow me to patent it, buy it.
No problem.
Bottom-up approach of information. But then now the question where I'd love to ask you, the issue of intolerance, political intolerance. Soon we will get into that position that we will not get back to where we were, where we used to enjoy peace politically and even economically. Dr. here is an economist, and we'll talk about that briefly. But politics of intolerance, we saw what happened over the weekend. Somebody would say, now that the deputy president was stopped from getting into a church in Kieni, then you're also coming into my area, I will stop you because people of Kieni did not allow the DP to go into church, and again now we are also stopping you, and it will have a ripple effect. Do you really think that's where we should be?
No, we should not even imagine that can be given another chance. What should happen here is there were cameras that captured people behaving in a way that they shouldn't have been behaving. Our authorities need to swing into action, mop up all those criminals, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
And let them get information from them as to who sent them to do that which they were doing, which they know they shouldn't have been doing. Kenyans are required by law to abide by our rules and regulations.
Yeah.
And causing chaos is against the Kenyan law. So whatever happened is regrettable. It should not be allowed to happen again. Nobody should even be considering to retaliate on behalf of the deputy president.
Yeah.
Let alone the goons we've seen on social media say that we should desist from certain media houses. So retaliation should not happen. The people who organized the blockades that we saw should be held accountable. And our courts in this matter, because we are headed into a heated election period, should move swiftly and expedite on the cases that will be taken to them.
Yeah.
So on this matter, we must abide by the law.
Yes.
We must respect it. And our leaders, I hope it continues. From the deputy president himself, there was not any negative remark about what happened. I hope he continues that way. But he must call everyone on his side to order so that this behavior does not continue.
Yeah.
Now, on the issue of bottom-up information, it's necessary that our leaders listen to what the real people are saying, instead of those who are only interested in leadership and politics. And the thing is, people on the ground need peace, need stability. That's what I've been hearing. There are a few who benefit from the chaos that we see around.
Yeah.
That's not who all of Kenya
And actually,
is.
there's some people who thrive in violence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they should not be given opportunity to do that. On the side of playing politics with very important matters, the previous week we saw people playing politics with national security. Now it has gotten to how people acquired wealth and people calling others names. Let our leaders be responsible. We see them in very expensive suits and ties and shirts. They should behave as such. Let's not just look clean on the outside, but then in our hearts we are filled with vile and all these negativities. We are a civilized society. We have institutions. Let us use those institutions to move Kenya's business forward.
Yeah. Okay. Doctor, we've had our past as a nation, where every election year, something has to happen that can trigger some set of violence. We all know what happened in 2007, 2008, that a country we've not even recovered up to this particular point. People thought, it was going to be a week of violence, running riots with police and what have you, but we all know and saw where we landed as a country. Are you somehow afraid of perhaps us going toward the right direction?
I think, Olo, you remember once when I told you that the Kenya we are today is not the Kenya of the yesteryears. Why I'm saying that, Olo, the formation of politics as it is now is across the board. When you saw what happened when Ruto visited Mount Kenya over the weekend, somebody would have imagined that he was somewhere in Rift Valley, his home tack. Why I'm saying so, Kenyans across the board are now looking at the personalities, not so much about the parties. I told you last week. And the personality of the deputy president, he has built his own rapport, not on tribal basis, not on not linking up with where you come from, but people have come up together based on ideas and ideologies and what they want to achieve in future. There is this thing called the hustler narrative, bottom-up economy and all this and that. Many people have actually put it, and they are driving on the basis of what they understand about the whole ideology. It is not actually based on the tribe. And I'm not foreseeing, Olo, because what you saw in Mount Kenya, those small things that happened, it was organized not by the men on the grassroots. It was organized by some leaders who feel that they are on the disadvantage. So it is about leadership. So the moment we clean up the leadership, the people on the ground have no problem with anybody. And let me tell you, Lo, and I witnessed once when His Excellency the President was leading some holiday in Kisumu, where Ruto, while he was going to Kisumu, he was stopped at Kondele with a Mammon crowd cheering Ruto. That is a Nyanza place. I would have imagined they would have stoned him. But instead, they welcomed him. That is the kind of civilization that we are in this century. That is the kind of politics that we must embrace.
Yeah.
I want to see Right Honorable Raila Odinga going to every part of this country and he's received. Let him sell his ideologies there. I want to see all these presidential aspirants having a free movement. Hata akae njiani aseme chenye anataka kusema. Let that be done, because our country is ripe for that.
Then how can that be done? Because Mwananchi will say, this is our person, chest thumping. That's what they say.
Oh no, look at what happened the other day. It must have been planned by some leaders who feel they are disadvantaged. It was not the people on the ground. Because when Ruto diverted, when they went the other way, he found everybody on the road. I mean, there was no stone throwing along the road. I mean, the people came in a big way, welcomed him, they listened to him. After finishing, they left. I mean, it was not originated from the ground. It was originated by some leaders who felt they were disadvantaged by the visit of His Excellency the President to the Central. So in this case, the problem is very small as compared with what we used to experience. Unajua, we used to follow leaders some time back that, oh, so and so amesema hii. But this time I tell you, information is coming from up. Who will remove a stone throwing to another person? If those people on the ground are well informed, if they are the one telling their leaders this is the way to go. So that thing, whoever is thinking about throwing stones, this is the wrong century. I can tell you. The kind of information that the Kenyans have and the unity that we have experienced and the much achievement that we have achieved as a country in a peaceful manner under the leadership of His Excellency the President, it has been done and will never go back.
As a leader of this nation, does this worry you as well?
It does a lot. And what should worry us even more is that our politics, just like before, in as much as it has evolved from being totally tribal, it has now taken the turn where it's personified, it's personality based. And unfortunately, this narrative that has been sold out there that it is sound, it is solid, the hustler's narrative, it is actually hollow and shallow, and it will crumble, which is what gives me, as a presidential aspirant, a lot of hope. Because number one, the person leading it is not authentic in the narrative itself. Now, that aside, let us focus on why we are where we are. Kenyans did not fetch William Ruto from wherever he was hiding. The people who brought him to the limelight are the very people who are fighting him today. It was the president that went and made a pact with him that come, let's form government. And they did. So the first blame should be directed to our president and everyone that surrounds him, because in their wisdom they thought this is the person we should work with. And William Ruto, being a Kenyan with a Kenyan spirit, he has fought to establish himself. We cannot fault him for that. It's true that today he is the most popular politician in Kenya. But then countering him should not be based on using underhand tactics like we are seeing. Why I'm confident about the race we are running today is, number one, if the rules are followed to the latter, people like William Ruto should be disqualified. He started his campaigns way before, actually, even before this government took place, when the president said yangu kumi yake kumi. That's when the campaigns for 2022 for William Ruto began.
I see the way Dr. Odichi is looking at you. He's almost saying...
I'm just being honest and sincere. They are the people who have made him what he is today. This is a problem they created for themselves. So if they need a solution to it, they must sober up and realize that the tactics they've been using have been counterproductive. We are going through a pandemic. Yet, the deputy president himself, in a tweet he did, I think yesterday or the day before, is basking in the glory of bringing a multitude of Kenyans together. A super spreader event. You see why I say if it's issue based, this is the easiest person to beat in a fair contest.
Yeah.
Because this is someone who clearly does not have the people's interests at heart. He's had time in office.
Yeah.
He promised big, but delivered very little. So he cannot be trusted that he will deliver on the promises he's going to make. That as fast as he's risen, he will help millions of Kenyans do the same. Because he's been benefiting on the ignorance of the people, that they cannot question to detail whatever leaders are doing. Right now, they are hoodwinking Kenyans that they will deliver transformation, but they will not.
Yeah.
So let it be issue-based, and then we won't have all the chaos we are seeing. Let us go back to the spaces that are safe and get away from the rallies like we've been advised.
But I would really ask you, as a politician, are you playing the politics of issues?
Well,
it's not.
As long as we've been in this space.
Is that what you feed Kenyans?
Yes, it's what we have been doing. And someone might say, perhaps that's why we have not succeeded yet. But we know eventually we will. Because for this nation to be great, we must focus on substance, on the issues. As long as we keep doing that which we've been doing, Kenya will remain that third world country where we have a few elites who benefit from the million others. So we have to change how we approach things.
Okay. Dr. When he was speaking, you appeared somehow like, okay, there's something you're saying, but I'm not agreeing with you.
I think, although there is something that is talk about the Ruto choice by His Excellency the President. I think it was the wisest choice that one has ever made. And let me tell you, from 2013 to 2017, and the vision that this government had, it was coined by His Excellency the President and the Deputy President. The prosperity that this country is enjoying, we talk about massive infrastructure, you talk about the peace that we enjoy in this country, you talk about the kind of development that we all witness. In this case, it would not have been able to happen or realize without the two coming together. Get it from me. These are the super minds. And of course, when you say he was wrong to pick Ruto, Ruto was not picked. He was a leader from, His Excellency the President went for the leader who was already there. If anything, Ruto was more wealthier in information, wealthier in experience, and that is what he donated that has made this country be what it is today. The peace and tranquility and the kind of economic achievement that we have achieved as a country, it was as a result of the two great leaders that we'll always admire. So in this case, let me repeat by saying the President made the wisest choice, and he will never regret. And one day, he will call Ruto and say, let us sit on the table. Without you, my friend, whom we came up together in 2013, with that vision of bringing Kenya together, he will never regret. So another thing, that we must look into, when you talk about Ruto having started the campaign early, Ruto has never been a pastor, he has never been a reverend, he has supported the church, but he has never been any of those. But he is a politician. He is a leader in his own capacity. Then, kumi ya His Excellency the President, and that was the beginning of politics. They started long even before 2013. Yago kumi, yangu kumi. How would you have achieved Yago kumi without talking to the people? And in any way, Ruto never did a campaign. What he did, he was telling the people what the government, the policies that the government has actually put in place.
I think of course, I think at that particular point,
listen,
the only advantage, there's a very thin line.
The only advantage that he had is because he has been in power since 2013. And since 2013, of course, he had that privilege of meeting the people. as the second in command of the leader of the country. So in this case, he had some advantages, which of course some of his contestants who were actually eyeing the 2022 were saying this guy is actually taking undue advantages over them. But in this case, that was a privilege that he has.
Absolutely, and you can really admit that it was a privilege, and there's a very thin line between articulating the government projects, achievements, and what have you, and campaigning, that it was so tight.
When you express that this is what Jubilee has done, and you are part of the Jubilee, what is wrong with that? This is what we have done. This was our blueprint. This was our pledges to the people of Kenya. And let me tell you, do you want to tell me that in 2017, and then to where we are today, have they come up with another blueprint? The projects that we started in 2013 are the projects that are going on to date. What is new?
Then perhaps Muthiora here, who is a presidential candidate, probably starting his campaign way too late, maybe.
And let me tell you, I'm asking my...
And IEBC has not even declared the campaign period
my
yet.
Friend, I mean, I like him because he is actually he's bound by the law that we are yet to start. But 3 months campaign for a presidential campaign, how will you cover the whole republic if you could not do the way Ruto did? You have to transfer all the country.
It's actually possible with technology and even research.
People want to feel you, my friend.
And they will not feel you because every day you go to a church, you go to a funeral. They will feel you because whatever policies you're saying you will deliver are based on research, on science. He mentioned about the bottom-up information. If you've been paying attention to what the people are saying, you do not have to go to every individual because there are methods of reaching out to every corner of this nation. So let's just follow the law. The law says we will have 6 months of proper campaign. That's what the deputy president should have waited for, instead of using taxpayers' money to curtail whatever his government is doing to get us into this frenzy that we are already in, and then at the end of it all, step aside and seem like he did not do anything. Because what the deputy president wants us to believe right now is like you take ants and you put them in a bottle and then you shake it and then you leave it and they are confused and you act like you did not do anything. That's what the deputy president wants us to believe. But the frenzy we are in right now has been caused by what he's been doing. And it's unfortunate that the top echelons of Jubilee, instead of being sober and using better methods, have played into their game. And they are running scared. And they say they're not scared. Yet when you look at their methods, they're actually petrified by the progress that the deputy president has made. It's time we focus on what matters. And number one, we must agree that peace is the most important thing for this nation. So anyone that is not for peace should be behind bars, even as we speak. Our people are well educated to the extent that they know what they should be doing. It's disappointing that we still allow ourselves to be used as fodder by politicians. I would wish for a day when Kenyans, let's say like next weekend, they all declare that we will not go to any venue where a politician will come to address us. Why? Because we've been told that under the Ministry of Health guidelines, we should not be congregating unless it's necessary. But our politicians are taking advantage of church gatherings or funerals to propagate things for which they will have an opportunity when the right time comes after we have put this pandemic under control. So, Victor, it's a high time that Kenyans sober up and realize that politics is not the only thing that matters in this nation. Politics should provide an environment where our economy thrives, where the social fabric is allowed to heal, and we raise a holistic society where people take care of each other instead of seeing each other as enemies.
Okay, so before I become enemy with my director, let's just take a break. We'll be right back. We are taking a very, very short break. There's a lot happening after this particular break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
A very short time wewe kumharibia familia yake, so jambo la kununua nyumba is not a big deal for him.
I'm not up for your stupid silly games, wakili. Kwani ni mtoto wangu? Hata akaenda nyumba za wazee mimi sijali, ama wewe wajali? Ameenda kwa boyfriend yake. Huu wazimu wa nyumba umemchokesha.
Hawa watu ukiwapatia nafasi watakupanda kichwani na mambo yako yote yataharibika. Ndio maana inabidi unawafuga kama mbuzi.
Majesty, I will gladly repay you with my life, but I beg you to spare my brother.
Good. Remember your promise.
Can we defeat them?
Those vessels can't easily be defeated.
Then I have to go see him.
Hey, hold on.
I won't go. You can't make me. I'm staying. Forever.
Go now!
别缘风般吹散沉香，香满旗檐上。抓一味当归入药汤，相思泪水。
Being together is dangerous. He is my father's enemy.
Over my dead body.
Karibu sana, and we are almost coming to the end of the show. If you are just joining us, you've missed a lot. You've missed a lot, but don't worry, we'll have everything on our social media platform so that you can go there and follow this discussion after this particular show. Okay, let's just wrap up this particular topic. Dr. We are talking about the issue of politics of intolerance that is crippling in slowly, and pole pole, we hope that at the end of the day, politicians will do due diligence to see that we go to an election come next year, one united country. As a nation, people will be willing to go that direction, but politicians probably might not have it that way. What do you think should happen at this particular point so that as a nation we move in one direction?
I think the issue of intolerance, although it is something that as Kenyans, we must follow the law to the letter. I mean, we are a law-abiding nation, and there are areas where we have to play. Whatever we speak in the public, whatever we tell to the public, whatever the public is consuming, must be something that has been vetted by an individual. You don't just come to the limelight of the people, talk to them whatever you want, and just leave it that way. So, I mean, leadership must exercise restraint in whatever they are giving to the public. Because we know among this public we are talking about, there are people of different understandings. And in that case, these people of different understandings, they may actually get you differently. You may have been trying to explain something, but in a very arrogant way, in a manner that you were hearing my brother, you were saying, I mean, the way the message was brought, it was not the way it was supposed to. I mean, so the way it was brought has actually, polarized the whole thing. And the real meaning actually may not be gotten. But what I'm trying to say, Bwana Olo, this man, William Ruto, was brought up in an environment of giving. Whereby as he grew in the church, they used to give, and as a member of parliament, as a minister, as what. So I would not have expected that after taking over in 2013, along with His Excellency the President, he will cease to donate to the church. And if we have to say today, how many churches has been built through his assistance? How many children have been assisted through his assistance? How many people have benefited direct from him, for employment? So in this case, I think he has done actually the right thing by demonstrating as a leader that this is what he is able to do. Even when he is not the holder of the office, he is not the president. So you cannot, the backstop to His Excellency the President, if there were things that have been done, there were things that were not done, the bearer of the vision, as we are today, His Excellency the President, Uhuru Kenyatta. And in that case, that is why he has been talking that we need to indulge, in a peaceful manner, in whatever we are doing, so that we can take this country forward. So what I'm looking forward, Olo, the backstop at His Excellency the President, he has to bring the country together. He has that mandate of safeguarding the law and the order of the land. So in this case, even the leadership of this land, they must also embrace what the president is telling them. That yes, let us do this, let us not do this. So because by the end of the day, if things goes worse, the backstop that His Excellency the President. Absolutely. So in this case, that is something that we must know at all times. And he has to bring on board all leaders of all walks of life. Not necessarily because we have now those who have different views, talking differently. But he is the head. He is the one to call the shots of the direction of the country. In case anything goes wrong, the backstop at him. So that is what, His Excellency is aware, and he has been advocating for a long time.
All right. Yes.
The giving that Dr. here is referring to must be discounted with the contempt it deserves. And I will liken it to this,
Victor, you're in trouble.
And please pay attention. It's like, I'm sure you've been in a home setting, and you're expecting money that your father had said he will give you. Let's say he said he'll give you 1,000 shillings. And then he got the money and he put it somewhere. And then your brother got to that money before your father gave it to you, but you didn't know that there was money. And then from the 1,000 shillings he was supposed to give you, your brother gives you 50 shillings and tells you, enda ujibambe na hiyo, na usiseme. And then your father is busy looking for the money, and you're there quiet because you got a 50 shillings and you made a pact that you're not going to say who took the rest of the money. And then after all the effort, your father says, actually the money I'm looking for, I was meant to give you. And you already took 50 shillings because your brother got to you first. That's the situation we have in our country, where our politicians grab what is ours and then give it to us piecemeal. We must desist from this culture where we look at our leaders as saviors. We have a constitution under which it's stipulated that under the devolved government, money will trickle down to the people. I regret that our churches have encouraged this culture of extorting leaders and thereby breeding corruption even further. You go to a church, they have a floor that is made of cement, but because they want to upgrade, they say they now want tiles. A leader promises that he will deliver that when they'll just be fine with the floor that they have. So let us learn to live within our means. That's number one. We have failed on that metric, which is why we have a budget we cannot fund. So we have to borrow.
Okay.
And besides that, let us be responsible citizens. I've been saying this over and over again, and I will not stop. If we follow the guidelines given right now, people will not be lining along the roads waiting for politicians to stone them. We will be at home staying safe and curbing the spread of COVID-19.
Okay.
If our leaders know that when they utter incitements out there, they will be arrested and taken to court and jailed expeditiously, they will desist from that. But it must start from the people, because sometimes you go out there and it's the people demanding that you throw insults so they can cheer for you.
Okay.
And if you don't, then you're not popular.
Okay.
We must change how we operate.
All right. I want us to do this, even as we draw to a close of this program. I want to ask you, Daktari, now that we have got a presidential candidate here, an opportunity to ask him a question. And I've just been told that we have got a presidential candidate who has declared his interest for the 2022 polls. So, Daktari, you have him here. You are a Kenyan, you are a voter. A question or two to him.
I think the most important thing that I want to share with my brother is that the Kenyan way of living, you cannot start from the blues today and say this is the person to be in the next 5 years if you have not been with them. And that is why that is the reason why you have seen leaders, members of parliament, MCAs, and even His Excellency the President moving to the ground to meet the people and assure the people of what they promise, what they pledge to them. That yes, we are on the process of delivering what we pledge as a country. And in any case, even if you don't have any political portfolio as of now, seeking for that one, you must be able to identify yourself with the aspirations of the people on the ground. You must be able to share their problems. Kama ni mashishi, ukue uko, ulie na hawa.
Okay. A question to him. One question that you'd ask him. He's a presidential candidate, and he said that he'll vie for the
Now,
race.
what will be the economic method that you are going to apply to say, that will create, that would be an assurance of creating employment to the thousands of youths who are actually finishing their colleges? What will you do?
In 1 minute, as we close.
Well, the TGN party, of which I'm the party leader, is the only party at the moment that has a real plan for the Kenyan people, and it's called the Value Addition Plan. And how we are going to implement this is, number one, to go all out and ensure that we end corruption, because corruption creates the most inefficiency in our system. If we can eliminate corruption from our system, then we would be able to cut on the taxes that are bugging Kenyans down. If our taxes cut down, then we'll be able to attract the level of manufacturing that will create the jobs that Kenyans need.
How can you eliminate the corruption?
Okay.
Well, it's simple.
Okay.
I am not corrupt. I do not have a track record of having involved myself with corrupt people.
10 seconds, please.
So
Right.
then, in that case, I do not bring the baggage where there are people that my administration cannot touch. We will fund the judiciary
All right.
in
Thank
order
you.
to be able
Thank
to
you.
deal with cases that are
Thank
taken
you.
to it.
All right.
And we have no sacred cows.
All right.
So in that case, we are the most competent people to address
All
this
right.
matter.
Gentlemen, we'll have more time over and over again, and we'll have to leave this at that particular point. And I'm glad that you have just declared on a national television your vision for the country.
Thank you.
Next year. Wish you all the best, and thank you so much. We've been talking to Dr. Rotich, who is a political commentator. He's also an economist by there. That's why he asked that economic question to Muthiora here on this particular show. We are taking a break, but just imagine, it's Tuesday, and it's Healthy Tuesday, and we're talking about health and wellness. I'm talking about health and wellness. Kuja after the break, utajua kumbe ni health and wellness. Jen will be taking that agenda in a few.
And before we talk about that conversation surrounding health and wellness, another quick look on how our roads are looking like, and perhaps at this moment you can just begin from the Adams Arcade roundabout there as you head over to the city center. Like I mentioned again, this forms part of that phase 1. Like I kept saying, there's still some bit of ongoing roadworks, especially in between phase 1 and phase 2. What is already complete is the expansion of that specific route from a single to a dual carriage road. So it's just these amenities here and there. There's still remaining parts when it comes to phase 1 and 2. Phase 3 of it, there's still a bit of undergoing reconstruction happening there in terms of the non-motorized transport system. And after all this is done, they will put up those 3 footbridges at various specific areas. I talked about the Kenyatta Hospital, there's Coptic Hospital in between phase 1 and 2, and then 3 will have a total of 5 footbridges. But coming to the traffic flow, like I mentioned, we begin from the Adams Arcade roundabout there as you head over to the city center, and clearly as of now, just at 17 minutes past 9, things have changed altogether. Now that is just simply why I was saying earlier, if at all you are coming to the city center, perhaps from areas of Dagoretti, Karen, Ngong, coming all the way to the city center, or even Hurlingham, or if at all you are leaving CBD, perhaps going to these areas of Ngong Road, then at that time, 7, 8 was just the best time for you to do that, because clearly right now on both lanes of this specific stretch, heavy kind of traffic, and even specific to this lane that is heading over to Ngong Road, heavy kind of gridlock there on this particular lane as you head over to that particular stretch. So perhaps around this area is just where you'll have to make do with that kind of heavy traffic. On the other section, still traffic being witnessed, but at least altogether a manageable kind of traffic, and that trickles down all the way past the Adams Arcade as you head over all the way past that specific stretch, coming to the Coptic Hospital, coming all the way to the city center. Again, one of those busy areas, especially around the Coptic Hospital. Again, that area is actually one of those earmarked places where that footbridge will be installed once they begin that particular process. But again, still coming back to the traffic flow, still heavy kind of traffic being witnessed all through this entire section. So again, it simply means that this morning, if at all you're using Ngong Road coming to the city center, you will definitely have to make do with this heavy kind of traffic just on those areas that I'm talking about or mentioning there. As you head over to the roundabout, one of those busy roundabouts, the same is being witnessed, and that one actually continues, or better still trickles down as you leave the roundabout stretch as you head over to Ngong Road. At least on the other section of Valley Road, not so bad this morning as you head over to the city center. So clearly where you really have to make do with that traffic is just on those areas that I've talked about. There's the Prestige Plaza, Adams Arcade roundabout, around the Coptic area, but at least past the roundabouts as you head over to the city center via Valley Road, not bad at all, moving at a very swift pace there. All right, and that is how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic. We have simply been focusing on what has been happening along Ngong Road, and like I mentioned, it will still remain a key area of focus because of those various footbridges that have been designated at various areas until the 3rd phase is complete in terms of construction, and also in that BRT process commences, and try to take a look at how that will shape how Ngong Road will look like.
All right, thank you for that, Dee. As we get on to the final segment of today's program, naona Muchimuch pale Twitter anasema wagwan farm. Wagwan. Thank you for staying with us this far. We now want to get on to our health segment, and this is all about your health and wellness. These are areas that most of us struggle with. We get to a point where in life we put ourselves through some crazy diets, excessive exercising, just try and get a hold of our health and live a well life. But could the problem be that we do not really understand what health and wellness really encompass? Well, that is what we want to help you understand today, and to help us with this discussion today, we have with us in studio Emily Wahome. She is a nutritionist, an author, and a wellness coach. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Thank you for making time to be with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Karibu sana. Are you on the social platforms?
Yes, I am.
Maybe you can just say hi to our viewers and give us your social media handles so that they can also interact with you there.
Good morning, Kenya. My name is Emily Wahome. I'm on Facebook as Emily Wahome. I'm on Twitter at Mil Wahome, and also on Instagram as Emily Wahome. So you can follow me there. so that we can learn more about health and wellness, which I'm very passionate about.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then again, questions, comments, clarifications, we welcome them. Use the hashtag Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1 at Jane Maboy. We will be getting to them in a bit. So before we even get to the details, you know, looking at the general population and our understanding of health and wellness, do you think at some point we misunderstand what wellness could be and we just go all out with what we think is right?
Thank you so much for that question. For us to understand this, let's first define what health is, what is wellness, so that we are in the same page.
Yes.
So health, I will tackle health definition according to World Health Organization.
Yes.
Because I'm also in academics. I lecture at Mount Kenya University, Department of Nutrition and Dietetics. And we like referring to information that has been verified.
Yes.
So World Health Organization usually define health as a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So Emily seated here may not be having a particular disease, or you may not be having a particular disease. But that doesn't mean you're healthy. Because, for example, if you're stressed, if you're going through mental health, if you're going through emotional stress, it means that you're not well.
Yes.
So we need to understand that, that aspect and be very keen, because we usually ignore that bit of emotional and mental wellness. And we've seen how it is affecting the population. Such that we only go to hospital or go for help when I'm having headache, I'm having stomach ache. But when I'm so stressed or depressed, I just close myself in a room at home. We've seen even the suicide cases have gone up because of mental illness and emotional stress.
Okay.
Yes.
So when we look at health, it's generally, as per definition, the absence of disease and the likes.
Yes.
But when it comes to wellness, it goes way beyond just absence of disease and all.
Yes, actually, even health is not just the absence of disease. Is that complete? You're physically well, or you're physically healthy, you're mentally healthy, you're socially healthy. Yeah. So even if you don't have diabetes, you don't have cancer, but you have emotional stress, we can't say you're healthy. That is what we need to understand.
All right.
We have to look at all aspects of our health, not just the physical health. Then when we come to wellness, we define it as that act of having daily healthy habits. Daily, the key word is daily healthy habits that will culminate at the end of the day having a healthy lifestyle. So if you talk about wellness, you're not just talking about those things we do, like this week I'm having a crash diet because I want to lose weight. That is not wellness. What do I do every day to contribute to my overall well-being? And we are still referring to all those areas of wellness and health.
All right.
Yes.
Now, even just looking from where you're coming from, looking at the studies that have been done, what is the importance of wellness for just anybody out there who might be struggling with understanding or even just taking care of their diet, watching what they eat? Why is wellness an integral part of any individual?
Oh, there's this saying that people say, we keep saying it, that health is your wealth. When you're not healthy, you cannot even talk about wealth, because we've seen some of us sometimes using even all the wealth they have to pay hospital bills, for example.
Yes.
If I'm in pain or I'm unwell, I cannot even perform well where I'm working, whether I'm an entrepreneur, whether I'm in a career, I can't perform as per is expected because I'm not in complete well-being. Then in this life also, I may not have a disease, but there is that word that we call thriving. Are you just surviving or you're thriving? You know, sometimes being unwell makes you not live your life to the maximum, or not be able to live your life and exploit your full potential. Like, for example, if over time I've piled too much weight, I'll find myself not able to climb stairs. I'll find myself having fatigue most of the time. So I am not able to execute my duties as is expected because I either have pain or I'm having too much weight I'm carrying. Sometimes it even causes, I have sometimes clients who come see me, they're telling me I have pain on my joints. When we check their calcium levels, they are okay. But sometimes it's the weight that is too much, it's exerting pressure on your knees, so you start getting pain. So this aspect of wellness, that's what you're saying, it is overall. So even when you're losing weight, it's not just about weight loss.
Yeah.
I may lose weight, but I am unwell because I am not taking all the nutrients that I require. Some of us deprive themselves food to lose weight, which I think we are going to come to when we're talking about misconceptions. So wellness and health, they work together. They are interrelated because it's one and the same thing.
All right.
And we need to embrace both.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, I was just doing my research and looking at the larger umbrella that is wellness. There's so many other sub-pillars that fall into this. And today I want us to just look at 4 of them because we cannot exhaust them in this one sitting. And I want us to start with 2 that are related but still separate. And this is physical wellness as well as nutrition. They go hand in hand. But let's start with nutrition because that is an area that most of us struggle with. When we talk about nutrition, wellness, it under a pillar of wellness, what really does it cover?
Thank you so much. My mantra as a nutritionist is let's keep it simple. Most of the time we want to make things so complicated, we want to make things so abstract until it is so difficult to do it.
Yeah.
So what I want
Hence
to
the
say,
struggle for so many people.
You know, yet it is a struggle every day. Yet you shouldn't be struggling actually to eat a healthy meal. It is not even it's not even expensive to have a healthy meal, by the way. So let's keep it simple. What do I mean by this? Nutrition is basically having a balanced diet. Having a balanced diet from the groups of food that we all know. So we have 2 groups of foods that we call macronutrients and micronutrients. So macronutrients in simplicity is the carbohydrate. So the carbohydrate is the ugali, the rice, the chapati, the starchy foods.
Okay.
Then we have our vegetables. And we are blessed in Africa. We have a wide range of vegetables that we are supposed to choose from. And they're available in the market. They are available in our farms. Then we have the fruits and vegetables. Then we have, fruits and vegetables are in macronutrients. In macronutrients, we have carbohydrates. We've said we have
proteins.
We have fat, and then we have the proteins. Those are the 3 major macronutrients that we have. So ask yourself every day, am I having a protein? And a protein may come from a plant or may come from animal. So if I'm having chicken, that is protein from an animal source. If I'm having dengu or lentils, I'm having some protein in it, but also we need to know you're having protein and starch at the same time in plant proteins. That's something else that people don't know. Yeah. Then am I having fat in my diet? Yeah, am I having fat in my diet? Because some people actually have come to fear fat. I do not want to put any fat in my food because I believe if I have fat, I'm going to get fat. And those are some of the misconceptions that we're talking about. But it's really about moderation. So and then we talk about micronutrients in simplicity, is your fruit, it's your vegetables. Are you having your fruits? Are you having your vegetables on a daily basis and every meal? And then now we come to portioning. How are you portioning each and every of these food? Because that is where the biggest problem is. Like us Kenyans, we love meat. When you go to social places and I'm seated with you, Jane, and we order for meat, imagine we order for 1 kilogram of meat. And me and you, we take that meat and finish. We take ugali and all that. Look at that portion. So that is what is making us put on a lot of weight because we're having large portions than we require.
All right.
So simply that is what nutrition is. Having all the groups of food in terms of diversity and also portioning them in the right healthy way according even to your level of physical activity, your age, all those factors come into play. And that's where the nutritionist comes in.
And then that just ties straight to the physical pillar when it comes to wellness. Now, looking at this nutritional aspects that you have very beautifully broken down for us, what is the direct relation it has to physical wellness once we maintain a balance, when we underdo it, and when we overdo it? Very briefly.
Thank you so much. So physical wellness is basically, let's keep it simple also. Some of us believe for you to be physically well, I have to register in a health club or in a gym. And I'm not saying that is not good. I also do it sometimes. But if I don't have time to go to the gym, Jane, does it mean that I will never do any form of physical activity? I think that's where we've been going wrong. If you don't have time to go to the gym or anywhere, look for a form of physical activity, which we can do. You can run, you can jog, you can even, during the times of COVID when we were on lockdown, I learned that there are YouTube videos where I can put and actually do the exercises in my house, and I do the physical activity. So let's keep wellness simple. So physical wellness is so interrelated with your nutrition, because we know really when you talk about calories, and I don't want to go to very abstract things. I want to keep the foundation. Very simple, the foundation. So when you're talking about your wellness, you're looking at, this is the amount of food I'm eating. How much am I burning? How do we burn the excess fat? Because at the end of the day, whatever we eat is in excess is stored in form of fat. So how do we burn that excess fat? We can't burn it when you're just seated. We have to have some form of physical activity. And we must say that we have a challenge today, because compared to the olden days, I remember when I was a young girl and growing up, we didn't have means of transport in the village. So we used to walk a lot. So we didn't go for physical activity, but we had involuntary physical activity. But today, most of us, even if I am not driving, this Uber and this, all this. So we find ourselves leading sedentary lifestyles, and that is what is leading to so many of the non-communicable diseases we're having today, like diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, arthritis, and all others. And if you look at nutrition, which we've just spoken about, there's a rise in overconsumption of what we call junk foods. When I pass through towns like in Nairobi, I'm not saying that once in a while you shouldn't enjoy a plate of fries, but how often are you doing it? How often are you enjoying a plate of fries? How often are you enjoying that pizza? And I'm not condemning the foods, but I'm saying how often, the frequency, such that if for my lunchtime I work in CBD, I don't carry lunch from home, and that is what I'm having every day. We must agree that I'm having food that is very high in fat because it's deep fried, and then it's high in starch. You see? So we need to look at the food we are eating. We eat it in moderation. We look at frequency. And if you are having healthy food most of the times, then we are not going to struggle with the diseases and overweight and obesity, because overweight and obesity, we must agree, is also on the rise in this country and worldwide.
All right.
Yes.
So overdoing has consequences. Underdoing has consequences. The beauty is in finding the balance.
Moderation.
All right. Now let's come to, I'm going to skip social wellness for now, and we move on to emotional wellness due to the interest of time. And this again is an area that many of us just focus on when you are in a relationship, forgetting the general well-being, or rather the general state of well-being that you need to be on a constant. Tell us a bit about emotional wellness, maybe what it encompasses and why we need to put more attention here, and especially on a very individual point of standing.
Exactly. So emotional wellness is also very crucial. It's not just about nutrition and physical wellness. You see, some of these areas of wellness, there are things that you may not be able to observe. And the reason why sometimes we don't put so much emphasis and effort on them is because people out there may not be able to see whether I'm emotionally well or not, until the day I overreact on something. Like I'm in the office.
They manifest.
Yes, they manifest. I'm in the office and I have an outburst. I'm there, I'm screaming, I'm shouting at people, or I'm crying. That is when someone will notice this person is not emotionally stable. So emotional wellness is being in control of your emotions. Are you in control? And what brings that emotional wellness is what you feed your mind with on a daily basis. Is your environment, the people you surround yourself with? Is even the books you read on a daily basis? Is the information that you listen to? Is the kind of relationships you're having? Such that if you're always in a toxic environment, it is going to affect your emotions. If you're not aware of yourself, because we are all different. There are those people who are high-tempered, others are a little bit calm. Are you also aware of who you are? Am I aware as Emily who I am? Such that if I'm aware that I'm high-tempered, or is it short-tempered, having that awareness makes me be conscious and work hard to be a better person than I am. Because when I'm not emotionally well, it means that I'll also not keep my relationships. I think you agree that, Jane.
Yes.
And also it means that it will affect my overall health. Because if every time I'm high-strung, I'm angry, I'm high-strung, I react over very small issues, then it's going to affect my overall well-being. My blood pressure will keep spiking because I'm always on this person who is high-strung, who is quarreling with people, small things happen and I have outbursts and all this. So the important thing is first being aware of who I am. Am I emotionally well? How can I improve? What books am I reading? Like, just to give an example, in a short brief, I said I'm an author. I authored this book, The Journey to Purpose, Keys to Maximum Living, based on my own struggles, my journey to discover my purpose. So I found myself progressing in my career very well, but at some point I found myself having too much anxiety and had been promoted 3 times in 3 years, thanks to my employer, and I knew I was doing well. But at the same time, I started experiencing anxiety and asked myself, what is the cause of this anxiety? So I found the cause of anxiety was actually because I had this feeling that I need to do more than I was doing. I asked myself, am I living my purpose? I love my students so much. I love when I interact with them. I love lecturing. I love teaching. But I found I also have another purpose of impacting people to live healthier, fulfilling lives. And that is what I was not doing. So when I walked that journey of anxiety, you can tell that I was not emotionally and even mentally well.
Yes.
And it's actually compromised on my health. So that led me to writing this book so that I can help other people who may be struggling with the same thing of discovering their own purpose, why God created them. And that gives you fulfillment, that gives you joy, that makes you feel that you're contributing to the overall well-being of people and even to the community.
And it feeds into your emotional well-being.
And it feeds into emotional well-being, yes.
Now, that brings me to this aspect that we call emotional intelligence. And for some people, they've had to learn the hard way how to understand their emotions, how to deal with their emotions, and how to control their emotions. For those who struggle with getting a grip of their emotions and just learning to make decisions that are hard but sometimes necessary where emotions are involved, how would you advise them to get onto this path of emotional wellness and emotional intelligence?
Yes, it's going back to where I have come from, is first of all being aware of yourself. And that is usually
and
a
your
journey.
Struggles.
And your struggles. That is usually a journey, and it's usually a period whereby you have to have meetings with yourself. You know, most of the time we have so much noise in our heads. We are working the whole day, we are having people around us, so you find yourself never having some quiet time alone. The only time when you are able to discover yourself so much is when you're in quietness. When you're alone and in quietness, you're not speaking to anybody, I'm speaking to Emily. So I refer maybe to situations that I've been and ask myself, I analyze the situation. Like probably maybe I had an outburst in the office and I analyze that situation and ask myself, how well would I have behaved in such a situation? Did I have to shout at that person? Did I have to overreact? You become aware of your emotions and you start slowly working on them. And if you find yourself not able to deal with your emotions, that is where we say you seek help. You seek help from relevant people. You can go to a psychologist. They are trained to help you in that. And also, I have talked about what you listen to, the books that you read, and also the people you surround yourself with. It is very important to take care of your emotional well-being.
Okay.
And if you want to stay calm, also avoid situations. If you know that this person, every time I encounter them, they make me angry, why do you want to keep treating them? So avoid those people or avoid those situations that always make you become emotional or overreact.
Now, that brings me to this whole other aspect of misconceptions that we have about wellness, and we can start with emotional wellness, saying that you have to deal with your triggers head on to help you harden against them. Is that something that you have found works, or it's counterproductive, facing your triggers to sort of make you stronger when it comes to wellness and especially emotional wellness?
I think to some extent, previously I was a victim of that, of suppressing emotions. You cannot deal with your emotion by suppressing them. You must face them head on, such that if I'm feeling sad today, I'm not going to suppress that sadness. I should allow myself feel sad. I may be feeling sad because I lost my daddy, for example. And it is normal to feel sad. But am I going to stay in that sadness forever? No. Staying in that situation forever is what is a problem. But as human beings, we are human, we have hearts, and therefore, feeling sad or feeling emotional is not a sin. And we should allow ourselves to do that.
Okay.
Feel it, but then deal with it. After I felt sad, I need to ask myself, what can I do to deal with this sadness? Can I deal with it myself alone? Can I go and share this problem with my colleague or my close friend or my close family? Or if it is getting out of hand, like I feel I'm so stressed, I'm not able to deal with it, can I go to a psychiatrist, for example, a psychologist? They help me walk that journey.
Okay.
I think as Kenyans we need to start embracing
counseling,
that
therapy.
counseling, because It is so sad when we hear somebody has taken their own life. It is so, so sad. Yet, probably they would have been helped to deal with that stressful situation they were going through, and they live because life is really precious. It is wrong, Jane, to suppress your emotions.
Do not suppress
Feel
your
the emotions, deal with the emotions. If you're not able to, go and seek help.
All right. Now, finally, looking at the aspect of, again, another misconception about physical and nutritional wellness, are these crash diets that people go on in a bid to lose weight? Very briefly, do crash diets really work? And if they work, what are the consequences and pros that come with that? Very briefly, we're almost out of time.
As a professional nutritionist, I'll speak from a professional point of view. Yes, those crash diets work. I'll just give an example of one. For example, keto diet. Keto diet simply means you're not taking your carbohydrates. I know people who have lost weight through keto diet. But as a professional, my question is, are you going to lose that weight drastically and then you've not developed healthy habits, and then when you stop keto, you pile back all the weight? So you're always on a vicious cycle. As a professional, when I'm dealing with my clients, what I want for them is a lifestyle change. And even if you insist on the keto, I may allow you to do it if you're very desperate about weight loss. Most of the people who choose keto are people whose weight has really gone up and they are really, really desperate about losing that weight. I may allow you for a period of time to do it, but after that, or in the process, my main aim is for you to develop healthy eating habits and healthy lifestyle, such that even if we come out of keto, I'm not going to have you back weighing 90 kilograms. So we need to understand here what is key when it comes to health, wellness, and weight loss. Daily healthy habits. That is what we need to look at.
Hujaza kibaba.
Exactly.
Now, we'll have to pause at this particular point, but we're definitely going to have a second part to finish up with this discussion, because wellness, health and wellness is not just something that is singular. It is a multifaceted area that requires different, pillars put together to ensure that your well-being is focusing on your entire body and not just one part and neglecting the other. But due to the constraint of time, we're going to pause at that particular point. We have been speaking with Emily Wahome. She is a nutritionist and author. She has put her book just there, The Journey to Purpose, as well as a wellness coach. Thank you so much for making time today. We look forward to part 2 of this discussion.
Thank you so much for having me.
Karibu sana.
Have a good day.
Brings us to a close of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for being with us. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning for another beautiful edition of Good Morning Kenya. I'm Jane Wambui. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
A very short time wewe kumharibia familia yake. So jambo la kununua nyumba, it's not a big deal for him.
I'm not up for your stupid silly games, wakili. Kwani ni mtoto wangu? Hata akaenda nyumba za wazee, mimi sijali, ama wewe wajali? Ameenda kwa boyfriend yake. Wazimu wa nyumba umemchokesha.
Hawa watu ukiwapatia nafasi watakupanda kichwani na mambo yako yote yataharibika. Ndio maana inabidi unawafuga kama mbuzi.
Amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
If Flavia loves you, you have my blessing.
Thank you, Daddy.
Eloisa, I want to be with you until the very last moment of my life. Bravo!
This year, the winner by a clear margin is this young man,
Lucio Montesinos.
Bravo! I won!
I will love you. Always.
Always.
Quiero amarte de una forma.
The gateway in and out of the Mukuru informal settlements, a new mural stands tall, reminding the residents of what needs to be done in the fight against coronavirus. The wall was brought to life by experienced hands of the Mukuru Art Club artists in conjunction with the Kenyan national government.
My name is Adam Masava. I'm a professional artist. I'm also the founder of Mukuru Art Club. And our project, we did it to sensitize our community on the recent numbers of the cases of this pandemic, because a lot of people here in the slum do not have means of knowing what's going on. Basically, some of them do not have electricity, TV sets, or they can't even afford to buy newspaper, or they cannot even afford to have a smartphone or bundles. So what we did is we wanted to paint a mural that would directly target the livelihood of slums, and also try to show the safety measures that have been put in place with the government and also the World Health Organization, so as to try and teach and inspire our community to at least stay away and not contract COVID-19.
For the past few months, the government has been making deliberate attempts to ensure that the COVID-19 awareness message gets to the grassroots levels and reaches every Kenyan irrespective of age, gender, tribe, and most importantly, education level. Art, therefore, was an all-inclusive channel for this purpose. A call for artists group of all genres to apply for funding and carry out this project was made. Many Kenyans were called out, but few were chosen, and Mukuru Art Club creatives are still nostalgic on making the cut.
We got an open call that was going around for artists in groups to apply for to be part of this project. And I understand here in Nairobi we had like 87 groups that had applied, and we were lucky to be one of the 7 groups that were picked. So we saw it on social media. Then we have one of our own who is really good in writing projects. So she did the writing of the project, and then we did a sketch. We came up with, we did a small meeting. We came up with a sketch, and so the whole mural, that's the sketch that we had. We just adjusted it a little bit, and we actually submitted it on the last day. And we were worried maybe we will not get picked, but we thank God, and we thank all the officials who were involved. They were very fair, and they sent us an email with a letter of acceptance, and here we are.
The idea was to make the message as relatable to the residents here in Mukuru as possible, and to pull that off, the local artists who understand the community were in a much better position.
The process took us 4 days. So the first day we primed the wall. We actually cleaned it literally, then primed it, and then we did the background colors. That's the blue and the ground color. Then the next day we did sketches. After doing sketches, we started painting the slum. After doing the structures, we then started adding in the figures, which brought life to it.
Naitwa Esther Nyambura. I'm a member of Mukuru Art Club. I'm actually a student. So we were given an opportunity by the government to sensitize our community about the pandemic. So we strategized on where to get the wall, the strategic position yenye msi akitoka ghetto anaweza ona like direct. So this was the best place for us. And basically vitu zilikuwa hii wall ni hizo what the government is trying to preach, like social distancing, you should wash your hands.